Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see what if Deku and Himiko witnessed Mei Hatsume's epic fight. Here is short summary. Izuku notices a crowd at school. Speaking of stabbing, so did Himiko apparently. They run over and it's a certain bubblegum-haired inventor. She's kicking ass. Himiko grabs Izuku's wrist and they make it to the front of the crowd. Should we help her? Someone is bloody, and it isn't Mei Hatsume. I say she's fine. Izuku responds. He cups his hands around his mouth. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. Do you think the owner of the treehouse will ever show up? Claim their territory and kick us out? Himiko Toga asks, as she makes an attempt to brush her hair. At first glance, it isn't a bad question per se. You should just think about it deeper before asking. Izuku Midoriya looks at the walls around him. Old. It's not entirely out of the question, but I doubt it. He knocks on the wood. The treehouse is old. Whoever made it is either too old to remember this place, or they're dead. I guess even with the chance they find this place, they won't think it's theirs since we added extra rooms. Izuku is fond of how the treehouse turned out after they were done with it. He is happy they managed to add new rooms, because for obvious reasons that was not easy. Looking around though, he can proudly say it was worth it. I wouldn't worry too much. Izuku adds. Himiko elbows him. I'm not worried. I know the magnificent rules of. She puts her brush down and starts spinning for the theatrical effect. Finders keepers. Izuku slightly laughs for a second. What are you, a child? Then it occurs to him. Himiko, you're going to mess up your hair. Izuku says, grabbing her shoulders. His theory is confirmed. It looks like a rat's nest. You're one to talk, she counters. Himiko pouts as she looks at her phone's camera. God damn it, she tries to run a finger through her hair. It gets stuck. How is your hair always so messy? He asks. He picks up her brush and hands it to her. She doesn't take it. I'm not your maid, take it. He says. To be fair, it is just for the sake of banter, but they're close enough for that to be the norm. You know, Himiko starts. Just by the tone Izuku knows whatever the hell it is that comes out of her mouth, he will say no to. If you brush it yourself, maybe it'd be easier. Izuku is apparently right. Absolutely not. Izuku replies, no hesitation. Himiko looks flabbergasted, as she takes the brush and continues doing her hair. You're kidding me, she says. Izuku has no clue as to why she's so confused. You let me move in with you when you ran away from Foster and found this place. He nods. You stored blood from villains you caught when you started as a vigilante. Hell, you've let me drink your blood before. Izuku nods once more. But you draw the line at brushing my hair. I'm failing to see the problem. Izuku responds, shrugging. I would explode Tartarus if it came down to it, but your hair. I wouldn't dare shave it if you asked. That shit is tangled. At least I try keeping it neat. Your hair would fall apart if a brush touched it with how little you take care of it. Himiko just puts her hair in buns for the sake of simplicity. Well, hurry up, we're going to be late. Izuku doesn't even address the hair insults, because if he denied them he'd be a liar. We're going to be late. Late to what? Being early. The school can wait. Himiko gets her bag despite this, then they put on their shoes and go down the ladder. You are the least punctual person I know. Izuku insults, before jumping when the steps stop. To be fair, if they repair this then it's more apparent there is a treehouse. With the broken steps, you have to look up to notice. They start their way to school. As they walk, Himiko points to another building. Another middle school. Why can't we go there? It's an easier walk. Izuku looks at it more, then remembers the whole idea when he enrolled them somewhere else. That's Aldera. Bullying is a huge problem there. Plus, Mei, Nito and Hitoshi aren't there. It'd be harder to see them if we went to Aldera. Izuku spins a pen around his fingers as he says this. I get the second point. We could handle bullies though. We ain't pussies. Himiko says bullies with venom in her tone. How many vigilantes do you know that draw attention to themselves, combating as civilians? Izuku asks, raising an eyebrow. 0. Himiko crosses her arms. If it comes down to it though, I will stab a bitch. Izuku notices a crowd at school. Speaking of stabbing, so did Himiko apparently. They run over and it's a certain bubblegum-haired inventor. She's kicking ass. Oh ing. Himiko grabs Izuku's wrist and they make it to the front of the crowd. Should we help her? Someone is bloody, and it isn't Mei Hatsume. I say she's fine. Izuku responds. He cups his hands around his mouth. Him up. He yells. Well clearly, I am. Mei yells back. She punches the guy in the face. How dare you touch my babies? Mei screams. Shit, he touched her inventions. Himiko asks. He had that coming. Mei is absolutely winning, at least up until the point a teacher comes. He breaks up the fight and grabs Mei's arm. You're going to the office. She rolls her eyes, carelessly. Aw man, and you too. Now, Izuku is probably mistaken, because that finger is pointed at himself and Himiko. They roll their eyes and follow. Izuku gets the remains of her invention on the way. You three are in big trouble. What did they do? Mei asks, pissed. The teacher ignores her as the three are left in the office. The principal's office. He shuts the door on them. Ven aquí, pendejo, she yells. There is no response. Mei rolls her eyes and sits on a chair. Ow. Izuku gets a first aid kit from his backpack. What happened? And where are you injured? He asks. She points to her forehead, then Izuku makes eye contact for this purpose. Actually looking at her face helped him realize holy shit, she's bleeding from the forehead. He starts tending to the wound. This imbecile, Mei starts, went over to me, got my headphones and hit me over the head with them. Your noise-canceling headphones. You added so many features to those. Himiko gawks. That's it. I'm finishing the job. Wait, Izuku says, rolling his eyes. He finished with the injury as Himiko sits next to Mei. Izuku steps back and gets her headphones. He looks back to see Mei's head in Himiko's lap. Thinking about it more, that is actually a pretty good idea considering she could have a bad head injury. For now there is nothing they can do, so this is smart. I'll put them in your backpack, alright. You did a great job making these. Not a dent. Mei smiles at the compliment, as Izuku packs them up. Thanks. I made it so that they're durable, but won't deal too much damage. You were way too prepared. Himiko comments. Don't be jealous now. Mei teases. Just because you don't have that, doesn't mean it's not a good quality. Himiko rolls her eyes. It's almost a cute scene. Almost. The principal walks in. Mei opens her mouth to speak, but she's too late. Don't even bother. I know what happened. How dare you attack innocent students in my school? He asks. Then he looks the two in the chairs up and down. Izuku does not appreciate hearing him mumble a certain word that starts with AD. They aren't even lesbians. They're only sitting like that because someone is possibly concussed. That's only because of his negligence as a principal. Izuku keeps his mouth shut though. You were suspended for a week. He says to Mei. And you two have detention. He says to Izuku and Himiko. Hatsume, you're dismissed. All of you, get out. Izuku can't even lie that he is surprised to see his friends Hitoshi Shinso and Nito Monoma in detention. He sits next to Hitoshi. Meanwhile Himiko goes next to her brother. Brother, yeah, that whole situation is complicated. To be fair though, all four of them were in an orphanage. And you can't always stick together. Maybe that's just his mommy issues talking though. He notices a paper is being subtly handed to him. A note. Izuku picks it up and reads it. Some dumbass framed me for mind-controlling someone to use their quirk on Nito. They somehow managed to get Nito in trouble too. You. Well, that's not depressing at all. Izuku looks at his purple-haired friend who passed the note. He writes his own response as to what happened with Himiko and himself. Mei beat some guy up for hitting her over the head with her headphones. She is suspended for a week. We just got caught in the crossfire. You good. Izuku hands the note back, facing forward as he stares at the wall. As far as anyone else is aware, that is all he has been doing. He does kind of see Hitoshi nod at him though. They're definitely going to have to talk once detention is over. I'm going to die, you guys, a truly sad day for us all. Nito says, falling backwards intentionally. Catch me, my knight in shining armor. Of course Hitoshi is the only one to get him. I've been saved. Himiko snickers a bit before vocalizing her thoughts. Your knight in shining armor. He's a lanky bitch in a messy school uniform. You hush it, and stop trying to make me catch you. Hitoshi argues, shoving Nito a bit. I ain't no knight, and you're a grown-ass teen, so stop acting like a stereotypical Disney quirky teen girl. Nito puffs his cheeks slightly. I'm hurt, truly. It is all right, my love, I know you do not mean these awful words. It is your terrible mood from that terrible place. We aren't dating. Hitoshi deadpans, before lightly elbowing him. Izuku is torn on whether that is an endearing move or not. Just stop catching him. Izuku throws in. He only falls 'cause he knows someone will. Just don't. It really isn't that hard. Izuku averts his gaze to the theatrical blonde. But he's right. You are not a Disney quirky teen girl. Nito lets out a fake offended gasp at this comment. All people princely aside, want to head over to my house. I need some witnesses so my dads don't think I actually brainwashed someone to hurt someone else. Hitoshi asks. It is a tempting offer, Izuku can't lie. Hanging out with his friends. That sounds great. I am going to remind you who your dads are, Izuku responds. They don't hate us or anything, but vigilantes should absolutely not go to a hero's house unmasked as their son's friend. At least one of them would get mad that we're roping you into it or something. What a bummer though. I like Eraser and Mike. They're funny, Himiko says, taking a lollipop from her bag and eating it. By funny do you mean that they gave up on trying to arrest you? Nito asks. I can go to your house. He offers. All right, tomorrow then, he asks him. Nito nods in response. Cool, then I'll see you later. Hitoshi heads his own way as the trio bid him farewell. You know, it's nice. He seems happier since he got adopted. Nito says, as they head their own way. I guess it'd be nicer if he had that sooner. Izuku turns to face him. It would be. How've you been anyway? You've been fostered for a while, but the adoption was recent. Nito shrugs. I'm glad to have a stable home. He responds. Izuku is no idiot. He can tell even though Nito is happy, he doesn't think it's a stable home. I just wish I could do something about you guys. You know, Himiko, I can at least try to say something about you. Maybe I can get them to bring you too. They can't separate twins, right? Himiko smiles at him, and it seems more fond than not despite the circumstances. We weren't separated, idiot. He rolls his eyes at her as she continues. We're still twins, no matter the living situation. We can always be that. What? You think someone can stop us from doing whatever that we want? And I know what I want to do. I'm sticking with him. Himiko, if you have a shot at a better living situation, don't let me hold you back. Izuku cuts in. Nito is handing you an offer on a silver platter. Himiko crosses her arms. You ain't holding me back. Mind you, we fixed that treehouse together. I am not ditching. I want to be around both of you, but I feel free. She does a little spin, similar to in the morning. And I am. At the end of the day it's my choice. I'm not exactly choosing between my friend and brother if I still get to see both every day. That perspective makes Izuku can't help but smile. She always has that sense of freedom, even when times get tough. He can't help but envy that good trait. It makes him wonder though. What if she didn't? For all he knows, she'd be a feared villain with a thirst for blood. To be fair, that's where moderate blood drinking comes in. It is mostly black pudding though. Glad to hear it, Miko. Anyway, I have to head my own way. I'll see you too though. Nito says, bowing as he bids his farewells. He walks down his path as Himiko and Izuku continue theirs. Hey, Izuku. Himiko starts. She looks more solemn than usual. I know we aren't supposed to care how society views us. Well, that doesn't sound good. But do you ever want to be how people see you? I mean, they call me a villain for my quirk, but it's all fun and games till I actually am, you know. He puts a hand on her shoulder and shakes his head. That would still be letting the assholes dictate your mindset. As for myself, no point in purposely being useless. Unless that in itself is the point. Shit I do. He never finishes his sentence. He hears laughter. Vigilantes it is, Himiko says. It doesn't even feel like she is laughing at him. She holds her hand up for a fist bump. Stop being a nerd. He rolls his eyes, but returns the gesture regardless. Eventually they make it home and Himiko throws her bag on the floor as if she just hauled a bus around Tokyo. Stop being dramatic. We have a patrol to get to at 7. Izuku scolds. Get ready. Yeah, Asani. Himiko retorts, using the name the public decided would be great for his vigilante persona. He immediately glares at her. At least the public didn't name me Jinx. In fact, mine is better. He picks up his vigilante outfit. Still a dumb name though. The two get ready swiftly. To be fair, they were running out of time due to the fact they got a 2-hour detention for something they did not do. They head downstairs and make their way to the alleys to start their patrol. Musutafu doesn't have the most heroes, but also not the least. There are surely villains as anywhere else would have. Hey, did you know that before quirks, the crime rates here weren't even high? Himiko stares at him before shrugging. You sound like those quirk-hating cults trying to defend mass genocide. You know damn well I don't hate quirks. Izuku responds, twirling a knife around his finger. Right, sorry, you're a nerd. They climb onto a building. Anyway, Himiko starts, dragging the why. I got intel there would be a trigger trade around here. Say it louder for the people in the back, why don't you? But is there any info on where that'd take place? Izuku asks. I have a hunch, I can take you where I overheard it. Follow me, soldier, Himiko says, before hopping onto another building. Parkour, great. Izuku jumps to follow. Ah shit. He mumbles. If the way he goes is jumping off a roof with his shoes untied and tripping, then he is going to wish he didn't exist. But then he feels something tightened around his waist. He realizes it's a very much familiar capture scarf. So I'm not going to die in a completely embarrassing way, he announces, as he feels himself being pulled back onto the roof. When he's back on 2 feet, he looks up to see Eraserhead. Tie your shoes for once. Eraser scolds, clearly not too happy about the fact he just saved someone from what could have possibly been the dumbest death ever. Izuku smiles at him, though it's not like he can tell with the mask. Or maybe get rid of the flashy red ones. Doesn't that make it clear as day when you're around? He retracts his scarf as Izuku stares at him, unable to explain why he can't. I would if I could. Trust me, Izuku responds. Thanks. A few seconds later, Himiko is back on this rooftop. Do I have to monitor you like a mother bird? She asks, but it seems she realized the mood from the last topic. You good? You aren't hurt or anything, right? Himiko asks. Izuku shakes his head. That's one of the things he can appreciate. She can be sarcastic, or just unserious and carefree. She still knows how to be nice when it matters. I'm good, thanks. Izuku fixes his jacket a bit as Eraser speaks. What are you two up to? Is there something important going on? Of course this reminds the two exactly what they were doing. Izuku quickly ties his shoes. Trigger trade, Himiko says, and running back to where she was initially headed the second Izuku stood. He followed and so did Eraser. Do you have any more information than that or are we going in blind? Eraser asks. She shakes her head. Of course we don't. Eventually they make it to the site, and see the substance already set in syringes. The dealer however, was just about to leave. Izuku sees that they're armed so decides to go before he's noticed. He immediately tackles them with the rod part of his spear by their neck to make sure they don't attempt to run. Judging by their equipment, he can assume this person has a gun since their quirk isn't too combat-based. That or they have it for backup. Quirks can also get worn out. He sees the capture scarf around the person who bought it as Himiko holds the trigger. You got scammed, she says to the villain. Jinx. Problem solving first, Eraser says as Izuku takes the gun. Well, I'm not an idiot. Asani, let me deal with them, Himiko offers, as she ties the guy up. How the hell is he already unconscious? These guys are weak. I hope you don't think this is supposed to be more fun than efficient. Izuku puts the unconscious bodies by each other as Eraser and Himiko talk. Whatever. Anyway, we're going to leave before any cops come. Have fun dealing with them. We'll handle more stuff in another area. Himiko waves, grabbing Izuku's hand as she leads him to another alleyway. This is going to be a typical night. Izuku can already tell. That's alright though. He's been glad with the constant pace his life has gone at for a while. Izuku is outside after patrol, heating water in a kettle over a fire. To be fair, they need to use their power bank as sparingly as possible. Himiko is outside next to him, holding the instant ramen. It's pretty dark out, and even darker here with all the trees around. You could see the light from the moon if you climb this one though. They have their solar-powered lamps that they typically leave on top of the roof during the day so they can see better. The fire also helps. When he's done he pours the water into the cups and they climb to their roof with the lamp and food. Izuku has something that's been bothering him for a while on his mind. Eventually though, he musters up the courage to ask. Hey, Himiko, he starts. What are we going to do for high school? I was thinking of UA, but security is super tight there. They seem like the kind of school to contact guardians. She looks back at him. We don't have to be heroes. We've been doing a good enough job saving people as we do, and there are so many less restrictions. She exclaims, excited. We can just do any school honestly. Maybe try to get a part-time job in the meantime. Who knows? We might even get an actual house. How about I choose our school this time? Yeah. He thinks about it. Yeah, I chose our last school. It's only fair. Izuku can't help but feel a little assured that he doesn't have the pressure of another big decision for himself and his friend. Especially since their future depends on it. He can't help but wonder if she'll end up choosing UA though. For now though, he can just enjoy dinner. Chapter text. Izuku stares at the door in front of him as Himiko rings the bell. They collectively hold one box of chocolate and a box of some metal thing. To be honest, Izuku does not know much about it due to the fact that it's a kind of metal Mei had mentioned needing once. Hopefully their gifts can be considered comforting. It takes a bit before finally, they are met with their grease-covered friend. Clearly she's working on a project. Or at least was, until they interrupted. Hey, I was just working on ideas on ways to enhance syringes for the sake of getting blood more conveniently. I realized how little babies there are for that cause. It's shameful and biased as hell. Have no fear though, Mei Hatsume is here to right their wrongs. Mei beams. She isn't exactly a "hi how are you" type person. Oh, what's that you're holding? We got you some metal parts. And chocolate. Himiko answers, holding up a box of chocolate. Mei's eyes practically have stars in them. Te amo, she says, snatching the boxes. She hugs her two friends and looks at the metal. You're going to grow up to be something great, you hear me? One could comment that it's metal, therefore cannot hear her, but it is nice seeing her this hyped up about something. Even if it isn't an uncommon emotion for her. Come inside, and watch your step, I got nails everywhere. Wait what? Izuku asks, startled. What about your parents? We just came to drop stuff off because spontaneously visiting is rude. Calm down. They ain't home. Even if they were, they wouldn't mind. Now, Venaki, she says, walking inside, but leaving the door open for them to follow. Izuku looks unsure, but Himiko walks inside. They make their way inside and leave their shoes by the door. I want you guys to let me know what you think of my ideas. She announces, pulling out a poster paper with a syringe mask concept, different lists, explanations and mini paragraphs all over. You need to get blood. You also need it quickly in an emergency scenario because you don't always have the time. This baby will have a mask connected to several syringes that will be able to blood quickly and efficiently. I have a list of things to make before this, so it'll take a bit, but it should be quick enough. By this moment, Izuku is already writing stuff down in his notebook and muttering. Meanwhile, Himiko stares at the blueprint, amazed. When would I get the chance to use it though? I don't use my quirk when I do vigilante work. You don't have to. You can use it if you ever decide to be a hero. Mei responds. Or maybe just store blood. Himiko contemplates. Being a hero isn't completely off the table, but I dunno if I wanna. However, I'll definitely be using it. Your design is super cute. I know, right? Mei responds. Izuku reads the list of potential additions. Some of them are things she would need to ask about her quirk to know whether or not she can add it. He'll have to check with her what the answers are because these are good questions. Oh shit, questions. Hey, Mei, Izuku starts. Are your parents upset about your suspension? She shakes her head. The second they learned I got a head injury, they knew damn well I was defending my babies. They trust my decision making. Sometimes. Anyway, it's all good so don't worry. Mei explains, fondly. Her parents are not the best, but at least they can acknowledge she has a right to defend herself. They're far from perfect though. They don't hate their kid or anything, but her autism diagnosis didn't get her many good points. They were not the most accepting, but Mei believes that they are trying. If anyone has the right to judge that, it would be Mei herself. Glad to hear it, Izuku replies, nodding. Anyway, since it's the weekend we have an early patrol. Himiko, I can go alone if you want to talk about her ideas more. Nah, I have way too much pent-up energy. Himiko says. Thanks, Mei. Boring. Mei pouts, crossing her arms. We will call about it later. I need to run an errand anyway. Mei follows them outside to say goodbye, and they split paths. They make it back home and get ready for their long-awaited patrol. Izuku puts on his mask. Any leads tonight or are we just walking around until we find something? He asks. No leads, she responds, solemnly. Hopefully something interesting happens. I could use some goddamned excitement. What do you mean? Izuku asks, somewhat wary. I know you like stability, but this is way too strict a routine. We never go out and do anything fun. Well, I do. You never join. Himiko explains. To be fair, you are way more extroverted. Izuku shrugs. And I'm just not into that kind of stuff. You're not into it or you can't let yourself have fun? Himiko asks. Izuku heads for the door. I'm not into it, he repeats. Himiko rolls her eyes as she ends up following. They get to their usual alleyway. Did I piss you off? Himiko asks. You seem pissed off. Izuku shakes his head. He hears a familiar sound. Duck, Izuku shouts. He himself is already doing so. Himiko instead catches the object of concern. A knife. Are they being targeted? The two turn around to see a young woman. She is tossing a knife and catching it, like a baseball. You're fast, she says, before throwing another knife. It hits Izuku in the arm. He fails to recognize her. What could some random villain want with two teenagers? Oh right, they're corpses. He needs to think though. What could her quirk be? She seems confident in throwing but obviously she doesn't have an unlimited supply. She surely has a supply though so. Quit muttering. Himiko yells, pulling him out of his train of thought. She yanks one of his ropes and ties it around his arm to put pressure, like a tourniquet. As she's doing this though, there's another knife thrown. Great. Matching gashes. Son of a bitch. She runs over with her own knives and tries to stab her. Izuku takes his baton and waits for a moment. The woman however, pulls out another knife. You vigilantes have no skill. You can't beat a woman with knives. Don't even try replacing heroes. Ah great. A fanatic. All panic is shifted to another focus. Blue fire. Himiko and Izuku jump back, but the woman. Yeesh. Himiko says, the second the source stops. You call the cops. She starts to put the fire out and tie the woman up. Izuku does as told but as he takes his phone out, he notices someone. And that someone needs burn cream so bad. The second the call is over he gets Himiko's hand. I saw who did it. He explains, before taking her to the direction he saw the man run. It doesn't take long to find the most emo-styled homeless man pacing in circles. Oh my god, he mumbles to himself. Shit, is that vigilantism? I can't be a vigilante. I ain't getting roped into this son of a bitch system. He drags the U in as he complains. You burnt one person. Chill. He hears behind him. He immediately starts a fire in his hand-off instinct. What did I say? The blonde girl asks. What do you want? He asks, retracting the fire. Maybe he was being harsh in his words, but he couldn't care less. To thank you. The short, green-haired one pipes up. Great job. You did. Holy shit, your arms. He points out, looking at the makeshift tourniquets. What is this? A 5-year-old's art project. Go deal with those. Call an ambulance or some shit. That would be a good idea. However, we can't explain that we got giant gashes from vigilantism. The green one explains. That makes enough sense. You're going to bleed out. Just do something about that. Hold on. I got someone's credit card. Wait here, I'll get supplies. The burnt man says through gritted teeth. Stay where the emo stranger told us to. The apparently insufferable blonde one inquires. Do you want my help or not? He asks. He doesn't even wait for a response before turning to go to the store. He goes inside the store. To be honest, he hardly knows how to treat a gash. He, however, has siblings. They always got the weirdest injuries. Chuya, his younger brother, shouts, running to him. Fuyumi and I were climbing the tree, but He holds up his bleeding arm. Chuya stares back at him, distraught. He grabs his arm and looks at his other sibling. What happened on the tree, Fuyumi? He asks. He knows she's more likely to be honest. He tried to do a flip, fell off and grazed his arm on the branch. Fuyumi explains. Oh my god, Natsu. Follow me then. Chuya responds. He notices that the blood has been dripping. And their dad is coming home soon. Oh god. He takes his jacket off. Wrap your arm so it doesn't spill. Fuyumi, help him wash his arm off. Just water until I get there. I need to clean the blood. Fuyumi nods, leading their 4-year-old brother to the bathroom to wash his arm off. Chuya, however, moves quickly to clean the blood off the floor. Thankfully they've yet to implement the tatami mats. It doesn't take long before he's in the bathroom, where Natsuo is washing his arm off. That's enough, Chuya says. He gets the disinfectant and applies it to the injury. You alright? I'm not a baby. Natsu pouts. Sure you aren't. However, you were just bleeding. Doesn't take a baby to bleed. Now, how are you feeling? Natsu watches as Chuya starts to bandage the wound. It hurts, but it'll be fine, right? Chuya nods in response. Then he hears the door. He's here. Go to your rooms. Okay. Dabi ends up just picking up 2 water bottles, disinfectant and gauze. He goes back to the alleyway, and to his surprise, the kids are still there. Hey, brats, he greets. Water bottles? The blonde one asks. Now that he thinks about it, that may be the vigilante jinx. To clean the wounds. That would make him a Sani then. Thanks by the way. Yeah, who has a deeper gash? I know how to bandage this stuff. Dabi asks. We aren't babies. We can handle wounds. Jinx complains. Maybe she is like Natsuo in some ways. I know you can, but you're both injured. Give me your arm. What do you know? Same situation, different people. They aren't his siblings though. Not that he plans to see them again. Nor these two. When he's done cleaning their wounds and telling them to change the bandages, he's out. When Izuku agreed with Himiko the night prior, that the gashes would be a bitch in class, he wasn't anticipating a class that's fully taking notes. Apparently his discomfort was noticed. You okay? His friend, Nito, mumbles to him. He nods in response, but this behavior doesn't go unnoticed. Midoriya, you seem to be distracted. The teacher points out. Izuku mentally curses himself out. Care to teach the rest of this? I'm sorry, ma'am. Izuku apologizes, anticipating throwing himself out the nearest window. This woman will seek out any reason to get him into trouble. Get over here. You're going to teach them to solve this equation since you can talk enough to do it yourself. She declares, handing him a piece of chalk. He wishes his dominant arm wasn't cut just about now. This equation is simple though, so it should be fine. Wrong. Izuku turns around. The students have to be able to read your writing. Do it again. Upon being told this, Izuku writes it again. Apparently it's a repetitive mistake, because she was mad enough to smack him across the head. Again. The pain may be getting to him, because out of frustration, he writes as hard as possible. The chalk breaks. He notices laughter though. How does the moron bleed from writing? How useless can he be? The bandages. Blood-soaked. Izuku could argue that he was in a knife fight, but he is not in the mood. Neither are his friends apparently. He's broken out of the mindset he could consider a trance once someone takes his arm and drags him out the classroom. Izuku makes an attempt to focus. The one who took him in seemingly neato. He looks around to see that Hitoshi and Himiko are also there. Sorry, Izuku mumbles, under his breath. This shouldn't be this complicated. Now they'll get in trouble. Calm down. It's not your fault these assholes don't understand what empathy is. Nito responds. There's a pharmacy nearby, I think we can get some bandages. Hitoshi explains. Without waiting for a response, he starts walking over to the pharmacy. Care to explain why you're bleeding? Izuku stays silent, while Himiko takes this as her chance to explain. He and I got into a knife fight. This lady who probably had an accuracy quirk. She hates vigilantes. You got injured too, Nito asks. She must have been a decent fighter then. You're either overestimating us or underestimating others. Izuku points out. Yeah, you too though. Nito starts. Take some time off. At least to heal. You can only save people when you aren't injured like hell. That's not the worst idea. Himiko shrugs. Good, cause it's not up for negotiation. Hitoshi deadpans. How's a week? Himiko nods for the both of them, but Izuku thinks that's too long. Not that he'll comment on it. Wait, we just ran out of class. Somehow Hitoshi just realizes this. My dads are going to interrogate me. Aw shit. Chapter text. If I can't find any entertainment, I'm going to start punching. It was the weekend and they had nothing to do. Of course it's even more limited with house arrest. House arrest, from Hitoshi and Nito. They can't boss them around. But they are. Izuku looks to the side to see Mei graphing stuff. On the other side, where the complaint came from is Himiko eating black pudding. Relax, you don't need to punch anyone cause you're bored. How about we go to a park? Izuku suggests, failing to admit even he is a bit bored. Maybe read while there. I don't know. Does scenery matter when reading? Himiko is staring at him as if he suggested throwing a ball at the wall until it goes flat. Izuku, I love you, but that's not going to help when someone is bored. She insults. Then why don't you help me with my graphs? Give me ideas, Mei asks. Himiko clearly doesn't like that either. I'm stuck with nerds, she complains, then she smiles. Apparently she has an idea. Why don't we track down that dude who helped us? We never got a name and it shouldn't be hard cause he's probably homeless. That sounds fun. Mei beams, standing up. I guess this baby can wait a little bit. Or, I can come up with ideas on the way. Are we going to brush over the fact she assumed he's homeless? Actually, Izuku thinks for a few more seconds. Touché. But he doesn't seem to be a people person. For all we know, he'll burn us alive. We'll be fine, Himiko says, standing up. I know damn well if I die, it's not to a crusty old bitch. Izuku sighs, before packing their bags. He tosses Mei a couple of pocket knives. Take them, I'm going to pack our masks. Izuku says, putting their masks in their bags. Mei takes them and pockets them. They arm themselves as they get ready to leave. Are we going to kill him or thank him? Himiko asks. Izuku rolls his eyes at her. They head out and walk around a bit. How do you even suggest we find him? Izuku asks. Then again, if he is actually homeless, he might be around the same area we found him. If not though, we're coming back. Why? Mei asks. We all have time. You have a curfew. Izuku comments. I'm not trying to piss off your family. I don't want people that make crazy weaponry on my ass because my friends and I are tracking down some guy. We must recruit him though. He's so lonely and sad. Himiko pouts. Not that I don't agree, I just don't want to get Mei in trouble. Izuku responds. Shit, is he actually around here? He asks, upon smelling something burning. That could just be a fire, which hopefully is not the case. Is the guy an arsonist then? Why would an arsonist help them? Then again, it may not be him in the first place. He doesn't even know this guy's name. To be fair though, Fires around huge chain markets aren't the most uncommon. Let's go check it out. If it isn't him, it's someone who's actually causing problems. Himiko declares. Or both, Mei suggests, already running in the direction. The two follow her and then they see the guy. And there's a fire. Not to the store though, but just a fire pit. He's burning. Maybe don't start a fire in an alleyway. Izuku suggests. The man immediately turns around, Endeavor plush in hand. He rolls his eyes and throws the plush in the fire. Oh great, the brats. And there's a third now. He asks, crossing his arms. What beef do you have with Endeavor? Himiko asks, throwing a stick at the fire. He throws another bit of merch. Does it matter? He's a shit hero. Doesn't take a genius to know that. I doubt you guys like him much considering his hate for vigilantes. Unless bubblegum over there isn't one. I'm not, but I'm in support, she explains. Why's your fire blue? It seems to burn you. Can you control the temperature? Wouldn't you like to know? Izuku can't help but take note of the similarities, such as eye color and quirk. Not that he'll say anything cause that's insulting as hell. How are the injuries? Izuku and Himiko immediately respond in sync. Fine. All it takes is for Mei to keep her mouth shut, but beggars can't be choosers. He started bleeding while writing in class. As confused as the man looks, he doesn't even bother. Izuku, however, flips Mei off. Anyway, Izuku starts. You, wrinkles, old guy. Stop being a petulant little bitch and get on with it before I burn you alive. The guy retorts. Whatever, what's your name? Izuku asks, twirling a knife around his finger. There's a long pause. Are you just being dramatic or do you need to think about it? For S sake, the name is Dabi. He yells. Want to talk about slow? Why aren't you wearing your hero costume masks around a villain? They aren't hero costumes, Mei retorts, upon her creations being insulted. They're disguises for vigilantes. You're burning plushies. What about that is villainous anyway? Himiko laughs. I'm going to kill that man. And you if you don't shut up. Dabi responds, flipping them off. Kill Endeavor. Himiko starts. Sounds like a true hero to me. You know what, I'll be back, she announces, heading to the store. So, you burn merch often? Mei asks, dragging the O, due to the awkward setting. Speaking of awkward, it's quiet till Himiko is back. Got the stuff, she announces, taking marshmallows, crackers, chocolate and skewers from her bag. Before you start scolding me, no I didn't pay. Izuku sighs in relief. We doing a campfire. How funny. Dabi deadpans. You guys can be immature. I'm out. Not even 5 minutes later the quad are eating s'mores together. So, Dabi, you have a house? Izuku asks. Based on your hobbies, I'm sure you don't. Brat. Dabi retorts. Rude assumption. But you're not exactly wrong. Wanna live in our house? Treehouse, whatever. Himiko pipes in. Dabi looks dumbfounded. Did you guys ever hear of stranger danger? Izuku just shrugs. If someone could explain to Dabi why on earth he's walking two idiot children to school, that would be great. To be fair, Rain is annoying. The annoying green one who introduced himself as Deku, is currently explaining the patrol schedule. We do leave earlier on weekends though. We're always back at 1 am. At latest I believe, Deku explains. Yeah, any explanation as to why the name you gave isn't your name and just means useless? Dabi asks. Any reason the name you gave means cremate? Deku retorts. Only Himiko gave her actual name. Cremate is my quirk. Useless is just rude. Dabi comments. Good thing mine is related to my quirk too. He hears the kid mumble. Barely. Dabi looks to Toga, but judging by her lack of reaction only he hears. Deku is just a nickname a friend of mine gave. He starts, normal volume. I haven't seen him a while though. What a great friend. Dabi comments, sarcastically. Wait, which friend? I never heard about this. Toga asks. Kachan. Him. Izuku says. Does he know you're? Himiko starts, only to be cut off by Deku shaking his head. Then why? I told you, he was good at everything he tried. Deku shrugs. I guess him getting a quirk was a huge ego boost. He never learned mine though. I wonder what he's doing nowadays. Didn't he live in this city? Toga asks. Don't remind me. I miss him, but that doesn't mean I want to see him. Deku explains. Well, that sounds rude. But I haven't talked to anyone from before Mom left. He was my friend, but Ino. Doesn't sound like too great of one if he's flaunting. What's this with your mom leaving though? Dabi asks. We're not orphans for nothing. Plus, he was 5 years old. What 5-year-old knows any better? Izuku crosses his arms. I know. Trauma circle. I'll start. Toga beams. My parents have been mad ever since mine and Nito's quirk diagnosis. It was similar to theirs, but they wanted heroes. We don't make heroes apparently. So, when they saw me with a bird I found and drank the blood of, they got rid of Nito and I. To be fair, the bird was already dead. Anyway, he and I ran away from the orphanage. Well, a foster home. They haven't reported us missing. Couple of assholes, huh? Who's Nito, anyway? Dabi asks. He's my twin, Toga says. They then see Nito and Hitoshi from afar. Speaking of, the two head over. Hitoshi, Nito, this is the weird guy who saved us. His name is Dabi. He notices. Hitoshi, looking him up and down. Himiko, Izuku, please don't tell me you adopted a homeless man. So his name is Izuku. Wait, homeless man. I didn't get adopted, you sleep-deprived zombie. Dabi yells. Oh, so he speaks. The blonde one comments. Probably Toga's twin. I'm not a young child, you egotistical theater kid. It seems even his purple-haired friend laughs at that, so it's probably true. We're going to be late. Deku comments. As fun as this is, we need to go. So, Dabi, this is Monoma Nito and Shinso Hitoshi. Monoma does a little bow while Shinso slightly waves. Aight, see you then, Dabi says, going his own way. Little does he know, Deku and Toga discuss letting him join them as vigilantes. Hitoshi may or may not be stalking his dads. Shit, that sounds weird, but they are talking about him. Maybe he listens in when he knows his dads are discussing him. But he has to know if they plan on getting rid of him. Well, not that they would, but better safe than sorry. Hazashi, I know you trust him, but he's gotten detention 2 days in a row. I don't think he's a bad kid. That's a relief, but you can't help but be a little disappointed when he won't talk to us. Oh shit, they're disappointed. Hitoshi doesn't even notice the hand he's clasped over his own mouth out of panic. It's not like he's doing drugs or something. I think we should trust him with at least that. Thank Lord for his dad. I don't know. He never really talked to us about anything. Not that deep on an emotional level. Shit, is that true? He's also recovering from his time in the foster system where they prevented him from talking at all by, need I remind you, terrible measures. Considering the fact they met him when he had a muzzle on his mouth, that's not entirely untrue. The word recovering still feels like hell to hear. Is he recovering? That feels weak. It's done. He shouldn't be so distant from the people who have taken care of him for this long. His hand isn't over his mouth anymore. Toshi. Is he spacing out again? He notices a weight on his shoulders. Hitoshi. Breath. His dad yells. Shit, he's hyperventilating. When did these two get here? Hitoshi calms his breathing as his fingers intertwine in his hair. He stands up. Panic attacks, as they call it, weren't the most uncommon for him. They used to be way more frequent, but his father is the one who put his foot down on him having therapy. Apparently getting frantic over minor inconveniences is concerning. Sorry, Hitoshi mumbles, staring at the floor. There's nothing to be sorry for. His father starts. Minus the fact you were eavesdropping, but we can talk about that later. For now though, you know what caused you to panic? Dad asks. Hitoshi can't respond. He could hardly bring himself to apologize. Isn't this what they said about him not opening up? He should be able to do something that simple. He can't speak though. There's no reason not to. He has a mouth. There's no muzzle. Maybe he lacks the gratitude for what he has. We don't have to talk about it now. He still can't help but feel like a horrible person who's taking what he has for granted. Eventually he brings himself to say something. I left the class out of anger. I'm sorry. The lie feels bitter on his tongue, but it may be better saying that than the truth. Or maybe he's convincing himself he's a good person. His father seems to catch the lie. He gestures for him to follow, but his dad stays behind. He feels a bit intimidated, but his father is also an underground hero with a capture scarf, so that's justified. He follows his father, who leads him to the kitchen. Sit. I'll get you water. Hitoshi nods reluctantly. I wasn't the most open at your age. Is he going to get a backstory? No way. I can tell. His father hands him a glass of water, which he takes. Anyway, I didn't talk to my parents about deep stuff. Then I got into high school and I actually made connections. I know you hear this a lot, but it's a necessary thing. I know you have Monoma and Hatsume, which are good. But in case you can't tell, I didn't talk to my friends either. Or boyfriend. Multiple friends. Hitoshi asks. I thought it was just Auntie Nimori. No. His father crosses his arms. I'll tell you about him sometime. However, things only got worse from there. You know what that meant. Miscommunications. Conflict. It was better having people understand and accommodate than coming off as a total ass. Hitoshi feels immediately guilty. That's good then. You think you have anything to learn? Shit. Hitoshi says nothing. His father sighs one last time, before deciding the conversation is over. Let me know if that changes. Chapter text. Shoto has never been a people person. Not that he had that option, but that doesn't change the fact that is the case. Natsuo, however, gave him a flip phone. He isn't exactly hesitant to try talking to his siblings. It starts off simple. They make a group chat. While not complete, he can't help but admit it's at least amusing. He doesn't really know them too well despite always having been under the same roof. At least when Tuya was there, he was able to talk to him when training. Hardly, but they indulged in each other's presence. Fuyumi isn't hesitant to tease him about his lack of emotion in text. He's not even supposed to have a phone, so it would only make sense he isn't very good at understanding the customs of text. The conversations have been pretty tame. That is until one day where Natsuo has a suggestion. As Fuyumi is on her lunch break, there is a three-way call. Hey, Shoto. Natsuo starts. You might not like this, but I had an idea. Based on the mere sound of it, he's already concerned. Why even phrase it like that? What? Shoto asks. I wanted to leave a mini camera in the training room for evidence. Natsuo admits. And he's right, that idea isn't liked. Even Fuyumi seems a bit wary. Natsu. That can be seriously dangerous. Fuyumi scolds. If he finds out, what could he do to you? Or Shoto. Just the thought of it is unappealing. Want to know what's also dangerous? My brother. Locked in his room whenever he's not being actively IZED. Natsuo inquires through gritted teeth. That is dangerous. Shoto can't even remember the last time his siblings referred to him as their sibling. Much less that emotionally. What would you even do with it? Shoto mumbles. He can't bring himself to speak up. Save it for any opportunity to use it as evidence. I'm not saying immediately if you don't want to. But if things get more severe, Natsuo cuts himself off. It's fine if you don't want to. Shoto wants to at least think. Even if he were to find out, he can't injure them enough for it to be visible to others, in Natsuo's place. Shoto is homeschooled. It also can't be bad enough to go to a hospital, as that leads to a bad reputation. Broken arms or legs are supposedly common though, so he can frame that as something else in Natsuo's case. That's not even counting starving or anything of the sort. Plus, Endeavor could toughen up training. But a chance to get out. You can put a camera in it. Shoto concludes. Really? Fuyumi asks. Shoto, if you aren't okay with this, there's no need to lie. Why would I lie with what's at stake? Shoto argues. They go quiet. Did that come out as rude? Sorry. I know you're just being, what's the word? Protective. Concerned. Natsuo suggests. Yeah, those. Shoto concludes. How long will the camera be there? A week at least. A variety works best. Natsuo answers. A variety of training sessions. Shoto asks. That makes the most sense. So long as he's not mad, the schedule is pretty consistent. Plus, Tomorrow is Sunday. Shoto. Natsuo, are you sure? Fuyumi double checks. This might serve as detrimental. I'm sure. Shoto says, quick to respond. Ditto. Natsuo answers. And that was the agreement. Now, a week later, the three are texting. Natsuo has sent the clipped videos of what had happened throughout the week. Shoto didn't even think about watching them. Fuyumi, you could probably start a GoFundMe with these. It might prove useful. Shoto, what is that? Natsuo, it's where you get people to donate money for something and promote it online. Shoto, thank you. Natsuo, anyway. I am good. I'll be in college anyway. Shit, Shoto never thought about college. Natsuo's going to college. Shoto gets up, pockets his phone and opens his door. The bastard must have forgotten to lock it. He goes around the house. He knows this place well, but it's rare he gets free rein. Almost frightening. Walking to the kitchen, he takes an apple out of spite. He isn't even hungry, but he doesn't really get to roam around and just do whatever. He takes a bite of the apple. Maybe he was hungry. Shoto ends up roaming around a bit more. He gets to Natsuo's room. He's never in this area of the house. Unless the bastard lets him go here since he has some degree of medical knowledge. Shoto doesn't go inside. That feels too invasive. Fuyumi's room is right next to his. He keeps walking till realizing where he led himself. Chuya's old room. Shoto enters the room, unaware of how to feel. He looks at his phone, noticing how the conversation continues. Shoto pockets it once more. There are a few scorch marks, but this room has been used for storage. At least some of his stuff is still here. Shoto walks around a bit more, till he notices a loose floorboard where the futon was. Well, almost loose. It's being held together by presumably wood glue. Shoto uses a sharp ice thing he made to stab a line along the glue. It works. He doesn't even know what to expect as he picks up the floorboard. A book, he mumbles. Shoto picks up the weird book. He flips to the first page and sees photos of injuries. It's an evidence book. He quickly puts the floorboard back, this time on top an ice block. He leaves the room silently, and book in hand, heads to the place where he likes the least. The training room. Shoto looks around the room. He never knew where the camera was. Shoto goes inside, only to notice the scorched walls. One thing crosses his mind. He'll be alone here. There isn't going to be a Natsuo or Fuyumi. Fuyumi will probably move out since she got a job. Natsuo is heading off to college. Why is he just realizing how much it meant to him his siblings are here? Shoto can't breathe. He leans against the wall. Why can't he breathe? Or maybe he is. Too quickly, however. Shoto can't bring himself to calm down. What does he even call this? It feels familiar. His thoughts are going too rapidly to even process this. He has his quirk, but he doesn't want to replace Tuya. He didn't like when Tuya had to Tron either. Dad likes his ice and fire though. He doesn't know he's crying until a few minutes in. He doesn't realize Tuya walks in as well. Shoto, are you? Tuya realizes what's happening. Even when he himself is bruised and burnt, he's worried enough to run over and hug him. Hey, I'm going to get you out of this. I swear. Breath, all right. Shoto can pay attention to his words at least. I'm going to get a job when I grow up. The second I have money, I will move out and bring you. Okay. Shoto's breathing is starting to slow. You're hyperventilating. It's a result of a panic attack. You'll be all right though. Just wait a bit. I'll get you out. And Fuyumi, Natsuo, maybe even Mom if I can. I have a plan. I swear. Chuya announces. Promise. Shoto asks. Promise. Chuya answers. Maybe his plan was injury journaling. Too bad he never got the chance. Oh hey, he's breathing normally. Shoto gets up from where he didn't know he was sitting and looks down. Blood. That's probably from yesterday. He doesn't want to stay here. If Natsuo and Fuyumi, or even Tuya aren't, why should he? He's tired. He'll think about it tomorrow. Shoto heads back to his room and hides the evidence journal in his dresser. Running sounds crazy, but maybe he can think more when his mind is straight. For now, he collapses on his futon. Shoto wakes up, trying to open the door. It's locked. What did he expect? He rolls his eyes, checking his phone. As he does so though, he hears noise in the training room. He's probably pissed about something. Shoto is not excited for training today. Maybe he doesn't have to. He reads the rest of yesterday's conversation. Natsuo. Anyway, you ever heard of Asani and Jinx? Fuyumi. The vigilantes, right? Yeah, I have. What about them? Natsuo. They've actually outed heroes too. Fuyumi. What for? Natsuo. Domestic violence, murder, underpayment. Fuyumi. That's actually pretty noble. Don't they focus on villains though? Natsuo. Yeah. I'd love to see M kick Endeavor ass. For vigilantes, the two seem to do better work than heroes. Shoto can't help but wonder what his siblings would think if he did. What would Chuya think? It's probably stalker-ish to listen to his siblings' conversations, but that doesn't stop Shoto. He wishes he could be a part of it. Not as a plan A even. My plan B of being a vigilante isn't probable. You two are so worried over nothing. Chuya argues. Shoto doesn't know what a vigilante is. It's stupid. Natsuo complains. Your quirk burns you. And incredibly dangerous. Fuyumi adds. You could be seriously hurt. Think about it. I don't even have to use my quirk that much. Plus, I can take money from criminals. Chuya reasons. Okay, now that money is involved. Natsuo starts, only for Fuyumi to shoot him a glare. I just don't want you in trouble. Fuyumi says to Chuya. Plus, you have Dad's credit card information. Fuyumi. I know, but I don't even know how long I'll last here. He hates me more than you guts for giving him false hope. Just trust me, Chuya pleads. Shoto doesn't understand most of it. Now, all Shoto can do is look around his room. If they're gone, he has nothing to stay for. He makes an ice lock pick. Dabi doesn't even know what brought him to walk around Endeavor's house. It's not like he can just pop in and kill him or something. Or maybe just old time's sake. Today feels like an odd day, he realizes as he sees a hooded figure run past him. Dabi keeps walking, at least until he hears the front door. He jumps into a bush. Bad hiding place, cause thorns hurt like a bitch. I'm not only leaving for college. The second I get a good job I'm out for good. Dabi looks to see Natsu, the one saying this. He looks and sounds so grown. How long has it even been? 9 years. The incident happened when he was 14. Who's Natsu even calling? He hears a feminine voice on the other side and... Oh, Fuyumi. Dabi listens as Natsuo rants about wanting to leave. I'd stay for Shoto, but to guarantee him a way to leave once he's 18 I need to get a house I can actually share. He'd follow, right? Is Endeavor still beating his kid? Actually, of course he is. He did it himself, up until he was about Shoto's age actually. However, he himself got burnt alive. At Shoto's age even. However, hopefully, Shoto won't go through something like that. At the same time though, that just means he'll deal with Endeavor for 4 more years. It's not his place to worry though. Dabi is done with life here for good. Good day, cause he doesn't give a shit what happens here. Eventually Natsu gets in a car with someone. Based on the level of fondness, that's probably a friend of his. They drive off, leaving Dabi to acknowledge his brother's connections. He has friends. That's interesting. He's glad for his geek of a brother. Dabi gets out and keeps walking, but sees Endeavor's car. Shit, the old man is home. About to turn and leave, he gets an idea, smiling to himself as he laughs at his own plan. He starts a fire in his hand and burns the tires. All for, have fun getting around, asshole. Dabi laughs as he flips off the building. He's just that nice, isn't he? Too bad no one is here to tell him he isn't. Seriously, how was he even able to do this? Just anyone could break in. To be fair though, he knows the ins and outs of this place. It's a good thing that he also knows where to hide. And the car feels incomplete. So of course with a scorched finger, he signs off on it. And maybe, just maybe, he sets it on fire. Just a little bit, now cackling, Dabi runs out of there. How does that English phrase go? Something about feeling like a shit ton of money. 'Cause right now, he sure as hell does. Ignoring the chronic pains. You know what? Since he's so nice, he'll go get takeout for the little monsters. Feed them before they get all pissy. On Endeavor. They'd probably be cackling if they learned that's who he has the credit card information of. Dabi, out of the kindness of his heart, goes to a takeout place and orders food. He tries not to use the card too often, but Endeavor doesn't seem to notice. He does have a lot of money anyway. Dabi is missing his own business when some guy goes to the area he was standing as he waits for the order to be ready. I was standing there. The man complains. What the is his voice? Dabi has the excuse that his vocal cords were burnt like hell, but seriously. The man has blue hair and red eyes but clearly a bad goddamn throat, which sounds like the result of eating sandpaper after your mom told you not to. Sorry princess, want a goddamned cough drop? Dabi retorts. You clearly need it. Off. I was here first, so get out. I liked this corner. The bratty blue-haired bitch whines. Oh yeah, I stood in this corner 5 years ago when I first saw this place. You don't see me whining like a prepubescent prima donna. Dabi looks him up and down. You look homeless. How do you plan on paying? Okay, maybe the brats are rubbing off on him. I was going to kill the cashier. Okay, wow. You don't just say that. You know what? I'm feeling nice, and I don't want to get caught up in your bitch-ass conflict. I'll pay for your meal. To be fair, this was mostly to use up Endeavor's card. Get whatever, I'll follow you to pay. Okay, princess. You're an asshole. The blue-haired man glares. However, it would be easier to actually get the food. Dabi hardly knows what brought him to do this man a solid. He's bored though. Once they're in line, he decides he wants information. Got a name? Dabi asks. If not, I can stock up on nicknames. It's none of your business. The man crosses his arms. Your nicknames are shit, by the way. Keep being a brat and I'll kill you. Dabi rolls his eyes, unthreatened. Once they order his food, Dabi notices his own food is ready and decides to leave the guy. Enjoy. I'm out of here, Dabi says, yanking his bag and leaving. The man can't even say bye. What a brat. Finally, Dabi makes it back to the treehouse. Wait, how do they even climb it with the food? Hey brats, you up there, Dabi shouts, only loud enough to hear from inside. Soon, a blonde head peeks out, smiling. He's here. Told you I'm not crazy. Toga announces. Deku is soon to follow. What's up? I have food but I can't climb with the bag. Dabi explains. There is such a lack of convenience with this, it's sad. Nah, I have something. Hold on. Deku halts. Soon he turns to a rope which he pulls. It lowers a box-like object. Put it in there. We wanted to talk to you. That is surprisingly smart. As Deku raises the box, Dabi climbs the ladder. I got food for both of you. Dabi explains. Really? That is out of character for you. Is there poison? Toga asks, picking up the bag. No, there's no poison. I just got bored on my way here. Dabi yanks the bag out of annoyance. Where were you anyway? Deku asks, suspicious. Visiting an old friend. Dabi answers, before storming inside. He sets up the food in the living room and they get ready for whatever talk. So what is this? An intervention? We wanted to ask you something. Izuku deadpans. So listen. So get on with it. Dabi remarks. Jesus, you two are moody. Toga complains. Sorry. Okay. Deku mumbles. Want to join our vigilante group? We don't use quirks unless there's an emergency though, so warning on that. Dabi is immediately shocked. He can't help but remember talking to his siblings about this. It was always his plan B. If you need time to think, that's also alright. Deku shrugs. Yeah, I have nothing better to do. Consider it rent. Dabi asks. Really? Himiko asks. That easy. Alright, we're kinda going to go soon, Sue. Izuku says. I'll join. Chapter text. Hitoshi Shinso doesn't even know what to think when the Discord messages on his screen imply the dumbest shit he's seen. Noivern. His first patrol, they grow up so fast. Partying face. The image attached is Himiko posing at the camera as Tuya in the background is flipping it off. Izuku is doing bunny ears over his head. Great. They're so intelligible. Hitoshi doesn't even try taking it seriously, before rolling his eyes and tossing his phone on his bed. He heads to his kitchen to make a cup of coffee. Neither of his dads are up. Speaking of his dads, as he makes his coffee he can't help but think about their likely current lack of trust for him. It's not like they wouldn't believe him if he told them why he kept getting detention. Probably. It just feels safer not to, which makes sense. Right now though, coffee. He can give a shit later. But he should be able to be honest to those who took care of him for this long. Now he's past thinking that they'll inevitably hurt him for ing up. He's been under their care for a while and they haven't lifted a finger to do so. That doesn't mean they couldn't react in a way they deem responsible. Nope. Bad. It's coffee time. But he feels ungrateful. They took care of him this much, and he can't tell them about the couple detention's reasoning. They've done so much for him. Not just the bare minimum stuff like feeding him or letting him stay here, they never tried muzzling him or stayed unresponsive in fear of getting brainwashed. They've helped him build up muscle to accomplish his dreams. They try to be open-minded and supportive. They were even patient when he panicked. So why can't he do this much? To be fair, he doesn't want them to switch his school. That wouldn't even do anything since all schools are like this. It'd just take away his friends. Wait, wouldn't they know that? They're smart. What the has he been acting like this for? Hitoshi chugs the rest of his coffee, but ends up choking. Shit, they'd wake up and he'd be the reason because coughing is loud. He tries to shut up but can't. Choking. His parents arrive in the kitchen and he slowly stops coughing. Sorry, Hitoshi mumbles, moving to wash his mug. Why are you apologizing? His dad asks. Are you okay? Yeah, just choked on coffee. Hitoshi explains. They seem relieved it's nothing worse. Conveniently though, I did want to talk to you. About school. His father is the first to respond. About your detentions, he asks. Hitoshi reluctantly nods. Want to sit down. He can't tell what feels more confrontational. So instead, Hitoshi settles for what there is. I've been what's the woe? Hitoshi shuts up before this comes out as a question. My classmates aren't too fond. You're being bullied. His dad concludes. The word bully leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. It feels like it's downplaying all that's happened. But it's still accurate. The other day, I got detention since someone used their quirk on Nito. I tried to stop them, but they accused me of using my quirk on them so they attacked Nito. This is obviously untrue, as Nito got detention too. For being attacked. The teachers are in on it. His father asks. Despite his monotonous voice, it's easy to tell he's not fond of the teacher's actions. Hitoshi reluctantly nods. The day after was because a friend of Nito and I was bleeding when the teacher kept repeatedly telling him to write. Because his hand was shaking. He speaks with distaste. Nito's twin was also injured, so he ran out of class and helped them treat their injuries. He leaves them unnamed. It's not like his father will recognize him, but better safe than sorry. They were injured. His dad asks. Shit, they probably suspect some abuse cases. They were involved in villain attacks, though they never gave me details. I guess they're still distraught. Hitoshi wasn't technically lying. He just never gave the full truth. His parents seem to drop it though. My point is, my school is not made for people with quirks like mine. All that was in mind for us was discrimination. Middle schools, most schools are like that. His father mumbles. Then shouldn't we send him elsewhere? His dad asks. And no, they fully shouldn't. No, it'll be the same, but this time he wouldn't have Monoma. His father concludes. Thank for him. He's not a bodyguard, but you've seen how defensive of him he can get when he comes over. It'd be illogical to take a friend like that away. Hitoshi is so grateful. Logic is a huge point to make in this house. Alright, then what can we do? His dad asks. I don't think there's anything better to do. I have friends here I want to be here for, and they made it clear that applies in their perspectives. For now, I can try to make up for my record. That's about it though. Unless there's some huge societal change, nothing is going to be fixed. Hitoshi admits. It's true. People all around won't change. Not with the top heroes only being where they are because of their flashy quirks. He can't help but wonder what society would be like if at least one in the top 10 were like him. Or Himiko with a quirk related to blood. Maybe Nito whose quirk is very limited. Possibly even Mei, who can be deemed useless. Or Izuku with no quirk at all. Thank you for talking to us about this. His father starts. We aren't encouraging you to get in trouble, but you helped someone despite it. That's noble. Hitoshi nods in acknowledgement. Praise from his father is actually really rare. He overheard him say it's to not let it get to his head, which makes sense. Probably. Anyway, we have to head to work, but we'll see you, yeah. He announces. Father has no class to teach though, what does he even do at work? Hitoshi asks, immediately realizing that it came out as a question. He covers his own mouth. Questions aren't all that works for his quirk, but people are more wary about those. He still monitors his old students' progress in general education. He explains. Sometimes they're worth enrolling back into the hero course. His father says, grabbing his capture scarf. See ya, kid. The two head out, leaving Hitoshi to get ready for his own school. He ain't no teacher though, so he doesn't have to be there at ass o'clock. However, he wants to meet up with his friends. Mismages. Y'all wanna meet up around the school beforehand? Maybe an hour or so. We don't get to hang out much. Questions are easier to ask over text, but at least he's known these people half his life. Nito is quick to respond. Ditto. Yeah, I'll be there soon. That's a relief. Noivern. Izuku and I will be there. Smiley face. That actually sounds like a threat. Noivern. Dabi has an errand to run and it's on the way, so he will show. Majorna. I see and Shishao. Greater than. Unsistnet. That's Mei for. I can show, I'm no longer suspended. He just assumes she typed that while making something. Everyone checks out then. Hitoshi goes to his room to put on his uniform. He rushes his routine and heads out. Nito is the first one there, Hitoshi notes. He himself is second. Hey, Nito, he greets. Now all that's left is to wait for the others. I said I have errands on the way, but I'm not babysitting. So don't expect me to save your sorry asses if something goes wrong. Dabi informs, as they're on the way. Himiko can't help but wonder what's even going wrong. It's going to school. Chill. Himiko dismisses. Just because you probably didn't doesn't mean we can't. Too far. Izuku comments, as he's writing in his notebook. Oh, right. People can actually get offended by that stuff. Sorry. She apologizes. To be fair, deciding what's too far is hard. Then again, isn't education incomplete for some people due to bad things that can happen? I don't care. It's fine. But I went to school, I just didn't finish. Dabi explains. She can't help but be curious as to why. They keep walking until they see Nito, Mei and Hitoshi. The trio heads over, and sees Hitoshi complaining. We are what, 5 minutes late? What the happened here? Izuku deadpans. Nito, who looks like he's waiting to be saved from a tower guarded by a dragon, is insulting my hair. Hitoshi explains. Yeah, cause your hair looks like Eraserhead's when his quirk is active. Out of everyone's hair here, I'm the only one who actually looks half decent. Nito argues. Himiko can't help but laugh at their banter. I didn't brush it one day. Hitoshi crosses his arms. And my hair looks great. Mei retorts. Well, yours is fine. Nito agrees. We have the same genes, I know damn well you go through hell sorting your own hair out. Himiko adds. What about you, Izuku? Huh. You've been awfully quiet. Nito pops in. I have no argument. Anyway, we were going to hang out. Want to climb that tree? Izuku asks, pointing to a large tree. Ever the peacekeeper, when he feels like it, Izuku quickly stops the bantering. I'll be on my way then. Dabi says, leaving as he slightly waves. Bye, Himiko says as she waves back, then runs for the tree. She very quickly climbs it and hangs off a branch. The next to follow is Mei, but she uses a grappling hook. Mei, I think the fun in this is actually climbing. Why, I got up and I had fun. Mei responds, sitting on a branch. Well, if you're having fun, it should be alright. Hitoshi shrugs, soon to follow. Then Izuku. Then Nito. The group makes it pretty high up. This is a hobby they've had since they met. Himiko goes over to Mei's branch. How prepared are you for school? Himiko asks, amused. I would rather not go, but UA requires a decently clean record. Mei complains. Anyway, I got something for you. She beams, reaching into her backpack. She hands her a mask. Probably. It's a piece that has a mask connected to a fanny pack looking thing. Inside of that has syringes. Himiko looks up at her. You made this? She asks. Mei nods back at her. She tackles her in a hug. Thank you. You're welcome, however we're going to fall. Mei yells, leaning off the branch a bunch. Himiko immediately catches her as she's falling. Sorry. Himiko mumbles, but she helps her stand on the branch. How do I wear it? The syringe thing is like a belt. Put that around your waist and you can wear the mask from behind. Quick and easy. Courtesy of me, Mei says, doing a bow. Losing her balance. Himiko has to catch her again. Let's get down. Yeah. Himiko decides, receiving a nod. Hey, school's starting soon. Let's go. She yells at the other three before putting the invention in her bag and getting down. The others are quick to follow. Himiko gives one last hug to Mei before heading the rest of the way to school. Natsuo doesn't know what to expect when he sees a tow truck taking away Endeavor's burnt car. What the happened here? He rushes in the house and sees that where the car was is absolutely scorched. He goes inside the building and looks around. Endeavor is gone. At least whatever happened probably got in the way of the training session. If that's the case then, Shoto probably didn't even eat. Shit, no one can catch him if he lets him out at least. Natsuo heads to his room, planning on unlocking the door. The second it's open though. Shoto, Natsuo shouts, immediately noticing his absence. He runs in his room. Shoto isn't here. His brother is gone. He must have picked the lock. Natsuo looks in his drawers. A lot of stuff is missing. He wasn't taken, he left. Natsuo looks around for anything else. There is nothing here. He rushes to his own room, only to see a note on his bed. Natsuo picks up the note, not even noticing the tears in his eyes till they fall onto the paper in his hands. Hope you find your way out. Good luck with college and job hunting. I'll try to find you once you're out. No way in hell is he waiting until then to see his little brother. Natsuo, despite his shaking hands, picks up his phone as he rushes out of the house. He dials Fuyumi's number, even though he knows she's on the job. No one picks up. He decides to call the school altogether. Hello, he starts, when his call is answered by the front office. Can you get Fuyumi Todoroki? The teacher. She's teaching a class, is it an emergency? The desk lady responds, without a care in the world. That must feel great. Yes, Natsuo probably sounds really disrespectful right now, but looking through the streets, he can't help but feel there isn't enough urgency. Family emergency. Alright, I'll send someone to watch her class. She should call you soon, does that work? The lady responds. Yes, thank you, Natsuo answers, before the lady hangs up. Thank God. He continues searching for a few minutes. Then he gets a call. He immediately picks up. Fuyumi. Shoto is missing. Endeavor left. His car was burnt down or something. I don't get that part. But when I went to check up on Shoto, he was gone. And some of his belongings, I don't know what to do. He didn't even know he could talk that quickly. Natsu. Fuyumi starts. He took his stuff. Did he run away? Probably. I'm out looking for him now. Natsuo explains. Okay, Natsu. I'll get out on grounds of a family emergency, alright. I'll help you look. Fuyumi says. Alright, I'll see you then. Natsuo replies, hanging up and continuing his search. He runs around the city. This time he'll do something to avoid losing another brother. Chapter text. Fuyumi is fully aware that Natsu won't like what she has in mind. She grips tighter on the steering wheel in debate of telling him her idea. Eventually, she feels collected enough to open her mouth. We have to tell Dad. Fuyumi states calmly. It's not like he can be left in the dark. He's not the best father, but it only makes sense. Absolutely not. Natsu snaps. She knew damn well he was not going to agree, but it made it no easier. Natsu. He needs to know. As much as I don't like the idea, he's still our dad. Fuyumi retorts. I get that you think your dad needs to know stuff like this, he starts, keeping the same calm tone, but for all we know, telling him might be dangerous to all of us. I mean, I only know he's missing because I went to his room. I'm not even supposed to do that. Then I'll take the blame. Fuyumi cuts in. She didn't even think about it. Now that she is though, she knows she didn't have to. He seems to despise this idea. Hell no. Let's just keep looking. Plus, he may be safer for all we know. Natsu crosses his arms, looking at the sidewalk as if he'll miraculously see his brother. Plus, he'll find out anyway. Let's just hope we see where he is first. Alright, I guess that's fair. Fuyumi's grip tightens on the wheel as she dully pays attention to the road ahead. The silence persists for a few minutes. Hey, Fuyumi, up until this point, do you think Shoto could end up like Tuya? Fuyumi glances at him before looking back at the road. He looks solemnly out of the window. Fuyumi opens her mouth, but no words come out. She's too worried to dismiss the question though, so she'll try again. Him and Tuya are similar in a sense, they always were. Maybe it's just the fact they were both born with decent quirks, but I think it goes deeper than that. She can hardly focus on the road. But he'll make it. He won't end up like him. Now we know what's happening. He's not on Sekoto Peak getting burnt. Those descriptions only reminded her of who that did happen to. She felt cold. She likes the cold, but it's supposed to be a hot day. At least something changed. Fuyumi, are you okay? Natsu asks, not even focused on the sidewalk. You know, Tuya and I were really close. Since he was born only 2 years before me, he didn't have his quirk, and Dad was never home to worry about. As long as it was just him, Mom and I, it was a normal family. She starts. And when you were born, he was happy. He was happy to have a younger brother. He always volunteered to take care of you. I think Tuya knew Dad's whole plan, so he was prone to being responsible. But he cared about you. The temperature keeps decreasing. Especially where her hands are. Then he got his quirk, Natsu. Dad started paying attention to him, and he seemed happy. I wondered if he was less busy with his job. No, 'cause then Tuya started getting burnt. But he kept training. I think he was afraid if he weren't strong enough, we would have to deal with it. But Dad couldn't train someone who kept getting burnt. What would the media say? So instead of training him to have a media-heavy job, he took his anger out on him. You were young, so I don't think you remember. She could only look back at the memories that resulted in the birth of the brother they're looking for. He still smiled. I think it was to cheer us up. Shoto never did that. Natsu looks at her, a worried glint in his eyes. Fuyumi, your arm is free. He stops and reaches over her seat. He slams the brakes. Shit. Fuyumi is immediately aware of her surroundings. Her arm, the steering wheel. They're frozen. By her ice. Has she not been paying attention? Now's not the time to fret though. She quickly takes the initiative to pull over. Apparently her clear head times out. I'm sick of it, Natsuo. Every time I walk into the class, these kids complain they want to go home. See their parents. I missed out on that, and I'm envious. Of my students. That's bad. I just want my brothers to be okay, but I can't even take care of them properly. She hadn't meant for her emotions to get so out of hand. She's his older sister. Fuyumi can't be weak in the face of emotion. It's not like he's not worried about Shoto. Her train of thought is cut off by an arm wrapping her in a side hug. Fuyumi, whenever something like this happens, you always step up to worry about others. Natsu mumbles. You can't always expect yourself to stay calm though. I mean, clearly, it's getting to you. And I wouldn't blame you. I agree, we need to find Shoto. But don't disregard yourself to do so. Emotional talks weren't common with the two. Natsu typically coped by verbalizing his anger, but Fuyumi wasn't one to do so. Has she always been quick to try fixing everything unfixable instead of just letting herself grieve? I'm ready to continue looking when you are, she says, composing herself. All right, Natsu says, retracting his arm. We'll find him alive. Izuku doesn't know what to make of his solo patrol. Doing things alone is easy, usually preferred even. He got used to Himiko's presence though. He was starting to get used to Dabi's. The first two he fought, both of which are in different areas, almost got him where he was used to being covered. Him and Himiko are pretty in sync after all. Hey, Izuku, mind patrolling with Dabi? Himiko asks, tying her hair up. Actually, I need to fix some staples. He cuts in. What are you doing though? Mei wanted to hang out. Izuku looks at the two, not mad, but slightly frustrated they didn't tell him sooner. Alright, I can deal. I used to do this alone anyway. But have fun at Mei's. And good luck with the staples. He responds, awkwardly smiling. Actually, do you need help with those before I leave? Hell no. They're the only things holding my skin together. That's hella gory. Dabi denies. I've seen gory stuff. Izuku mumbles. So have I. Then again, I'm leaving soon. Himiko adds. Izuku doesn't see anything suspicious for a while at least. Which should be good. Then he notices a hooded person. By someone else. Shit, he's pickpocketing isn't he? Izuku shouldn't even be able to tell. And the guy is on guard. He's going to fail. Well, may as well do something. Izuku decides to up the anxiety that comes with carrying out a plan the other guy would have to understand. Hey, I think we're going the wrong way. Izuku tells the other, grabbing his hand. Follow me. He pulls the hooded figure to another alleyway. What was that for? The other guy asks, the second they're out of earshot. Izuku starts, a sharp glint in his eye. We're doomed to get caught. Never pickpocket again. You are not subtle. Hell, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, never be a rogue. All I did was save you from getting caught. The other person looks indifferent. What was once anger now turns to confusion. You're Asani, he mumbles. Izuku, now that all parties are calmer, takes into account the other's appearance. Split hair and heterochromia. Would that be relevant to a half-and-half quirk? Not a necessary mutation, considering that's all that's affected, so it'd likely be a side effect. Or dyed and intentional. It takes a bit to realize he's talking out loud. It's not dyed. The guy answers. Has he ever talked to anyone before? Just this conversation is awkward, if not intimidating. What is this guy, 5'9"? Hell no. He's got Dabi height. Then again, so does Hitoshi. Oh shit, conversation. Right, maybe Izuku is bad at social stuff and not this stranger. Sorry, I'm in fact Asani. Pleasure to meet you. Jesus Christ, how does Nito pull off charismatic introductions? Screw this guy playing a rogue. Izuku should never be a bard. Why'd you help a pickpocketer? Blunt much. Geez. I know how that is. Izuku shrugs, taking off his mask. The other seems surprised at this, but composed. There's a store nearby, I'll get you something. Yeah. How wise would it be to follow a stranger? He asks. How wise would it be to pickpocket someone highly on guard rather than accept store-bought food? I won't even touch it. I'll just pay. The guy looks at him warily. Fine. Yeah. They head to the same store Dabi had gotten the bandages from when they met. So, are you a runaway? You seemed like you showered at least recently. Plus, your survival skills aren't necessarily the greatest for the streets. Izuku asks. Yeah, how can you tell? Apparently that only raised the wary bar. I've been hanging around for a while. Now I got somewhat of a house. But I ran away too. They head inside the store and go straight to the food. You're Asani, but you look young. He points out. Izuku immediately shushes him. Not maskless, I'm not. Don't advertise it, he scolds. But yeah, I'm 14. Oh, same. Izuku takes note of the blunt responses. Does this guy normally talk to people his age, or is it Izuku who's socially inept? You like egg sandwiches? He asks, pointing to an aisle. The other nods as the two head there. Izuku checks his phone as the guy goes to get one. Evie. Hey, Dabi. Himiko. Mind if I try bringing someone over? He's a runaway. 14. IDK if he'd agree though. Noivern. IDM. Make sure he ain't weird. Serialege. How often do you do this? Evie. Often enough you're here, is that a no? Ceruledge. No, go ahead. Good enough. Izuku sees that he chose something and they go to the cashier to pay. The second they're walking out of the store, the guy tips his head. Thank you. Izuku smiles at the gratitude. You're welcome. Now that you can actually eat, you know how to scale a building. That's a weird question, he responds, still monotonous. I wanted to talk to you, and I'm still mostly in costume. Just follow me, Izuku explains, then going to an alley and jumping over a dumpster, grabbing a fire escape and heading to the top of whatever building. Looks like an apartment. I can't do that. Izuku can barely even hear his voice. However, the guy creates a platform of ice and elevates it, before stepping onto the rooftop and melting it. This is op. Somebody inform the goddamned dungeon master. That's a sick quirk. Izuku gawks. How come it only comes from your right side though? And can it only secrete from your own body? Not to mention you were able to melt it with your left hand. Would that side barely produce enough heat to melt it, or can it burn stuff altogether? Considering the ice can be more long distance, it'd likely be half fire or something of the sort. That'd make sense with the red hair considering your right side has white hair and a gray eye. Not sure about the turquoise eye though. Then again I have another friend. He has turquoise eyes and a fire quirk. Thank you. And you're right. He says, making Izuku realize he's being a nerd. Oh, shit, yeah, sorry. You can eat your sandwich. Izuku says. The guy stares at him awkwardly. You don't like eating in front of people or something? The guy shakes his head and unwraps the egg sandwich, taking a bite. Initially I assumed you were some runaway since you had a publicly hated quirk, since usually when that's not the case people are pretty boastful. Izuku starts. But you seem really quiet about that. Yeah, well, that's descriptive. To be fair, it's a deep topic. I guess in a way I ran because of my quirk. It's complicated. What about you? Oh, you could say my quirk. That had a part. Izuku responds. Okay, to be fair, telling people you just met that you're quirkless is a shitty idea. But anyway, pickpocketing ain't great, and some people need that money. I get that you do, but how does he phrase this? I asked my friends, roommates, whatever. You can stay with us. For as long as you need and if you want. Buddy benches were afraid of him at this point. The guy stares at him as if he just offered to give the earth itself. It's Shoto. He mumbles. Shoto. Your name. Izuku clarifies. Shoto. Nods. Izuku can't help but be curious as to why he's not giving a surname to refer to him. To be fair though, Nito had changed his name when he got adopted. For some reason not to his mother's last name. Then again, they got cash, so she's likely in some way famous. Either way, he didn't like the last name Toga. Meanwhile, Himiko does. People are different. If it's not obvious, my name isn't Asani. I'm Midoriya, Izuku states. He notices the sandwich is finished. Good thing there's a dumpster on the ground. Wanna follow? Shoto seems to consider it, and eventually makes his way off the roof with a similar method. Izuku, however, uses a different order of ways to get down. He takes the wrapper and puts it in the dumpster. Where do you live anyway? Shoto asks. Treehouse in a forest. Follow me, Izuku announces, before walking back toward his house. Shoto has no idea what to think of this guy. It's not often he talks to kids his age. However, so far he's been decent. Clearly he doesn't recognize him as Endeavor's son. At least that much is good. There isn't too much positive light in this though. Hey, I have a question. Midoriya asks. Why though? Just ask the question. That line makes no sense. Ask. Shoto says. How long have you been out here? He asks. A night. Shoto kicks a rock in front of him as he walks. Shit, life without a roof is hard. You know, Himiko and I actually found a treehouse. Abandoned. We renovated it and furnished it kind of. We have a separate living room and bedroom at least. She and I sleep on a twin bed though. We have living room furniture at least. It's easier to find. Are these some kinds of tips for being dead broke? Shoto wouldn't deny his own privilege of living in a rich household. That doesn't mean the household was any good in terms of atmosphere. If it were actually worth it, he would have stayed. Midoriya seems a lot more welcoming though. Noted. Would Himiko happen to be Jinx? He asks. You do your research. Not many people know a lot about vigilantes. At least not as much as heroes. We mostly try to tackle things before there's attention drawn. Midoriya explains. That's weird. He has a newspaper with their names in bold. He takes off his backpack before digging out a newspaper. He then hands it. I've heard the names Jinx and Asani from my siblings, but this one is unnamed. Shoto points to a spiky-haired one. Oh, that apartment had cameras. He mumbles. That's Dabi. He's new. Dabi. Shoto parrots. Midoriya did mention someone with a fire-type quirk. Maybe that's him. Is he the guy you mentioned? Midoriya nods. They aren't the only people I talk to. Just who I live with. My other friends are either getting into support or heroics. Heroics. Shoto kissed that dream away the second he ran out. Not that as was his own. They're going to try out for UA. How likely is it they'd make it? The enrollment rate is low. Shoto asks. Is that rude? They have a shot. They're strategic. I help them learn to fight actually. Sometimes they come over and do combat training. As for Mei, she's a genius. If UA denies her enrollment for the support course, they're fools. Some of my weapons were made by her. She said she has better ideas on how to use them for different purposes. Nothing on their quirks is even brought up. Not that it's all that matters, but it confused Shoto. Isn't that all that matters to people in terms of heroics? Endeavor mostly just trained him to use his quirk. You look confused. Midoriya comments. Sorry, what are their quirks? Shoto asks. The exams are usually made for the most flashy quirks to shine. That's not my place to tell. Though, they're useful for their wanted course. Izuku explains. Everything about this confuses Shoto. Whenever he visited Endeavor's agency, he was so happy to flaunt Shoto's quirk like jewelry. It made him feel like he was there to be shown off. Which was probably true. The sidekicks were pretty decent though. Oh, cool. How is he even supposed to act in a conversation? Ask more questions. Or is this pointless? Then again, all small talk is pretty pointless. But they just met, so maybe there is a point to this. You mentioned siblings earlier. Do they know where you are? Midoriya asks. They don't. Maybe he should elaborate. I have 3. Had 3. They're moving out though. No reason to stay. That's enough to get a grip on the situation. They're nice though. He still wants to say more. He has a lot to say about his siblings, but if he continues talking, he'll probably talk too much. The two continue the rest of the walk in silence. Chapter text. Izuku is glad to say he and Shoto made it with no complications. However, there is a problem. A knife flies over Shoto's head, who thankfully ducks. Izuku catches it, only to note one thing. Himiko, you threw a knife at him. He scolds, approaching the blonde. She has the mask from Mei on. Sorry, I'm doing target practice. I threw it before seeing him. Good reflexes though, she comments, getting her knife back. I'm trying to get into the knife-throwing mindset when I use the syringes. But also acknowledge the differences. Why do you have syringes? Shoto asks. I don't use my quirk much, but if I need to, this helps. Himiko beams. My friend Mei made it. It's up blood. I need to drink it for my quirk to work. I transform into whoever I drink the blood of based on the amount. She seems airheaded as she speaks, but Izuku realizes something. She's testing his reaction. Oh, okay, he says, still keeping his typical tone. He passes. Welcome to the team. I'm Toga. The smile on her face seems a lot more authentic. Though, Izuku is aware of her troubles of people thinking it's freaky. Shoto doesn't seem to care. Jinx. He clarifies. She nods. I'm Shoto. First name. Himiko asks. She's not too big on formalities, but this catches her off guard. You come from a famous family or some shit. You could say that, he mumbles. Now that Izuku thinks about it, he looks a bit familiar. Anyway, Izuku starts, noticing Shoto's discomfort. I'm going to introduce him to Dabi. Good luck with the target practice. Alright, and Mei says hi. Himiko tells him, before throwing a syringe at a tree. Izuku climbs the tree as Shoto follows. Sorry, it's kind of high. Izuku apologizes as they climb. It's alright. Shoto shrugs, making it to the top. Izuku takes his shoes off, going inside as Shoto does the same. Hey, Dabi, Izuku calls out to the guy using his phone on the couch. I brought him. Dabi looks up as Shoto steps inside, and suddenly he drops his phone. He picks it up to toss it on the couch, immediately standing up. You brought him. Dabi parrots. Yes, you agreed that I could bring someone, Izuku says, looking back and forth at the two. His name is Shoto. Speaking of, even Shoto looks uneasy, like he's trying to make a connection. Did something happen? Izuku asks. What is up with these two? No one dares to give an answer as Dabi grabs him by the arm and leads him to Izuku and Himiko's shared room. Dabi glares at him once Shoto is out of sight. I don't think letting him stay is that good an idea, he starts. Now we might have a target on our backs. Izuku immediately feels confused and upset. You said it was okay. Do you know him? Dabi fails to respond, so Izuku is on his way out the door. That's Endeavor's son, he mumbles. Izuku immediately turns around. He's what? Endeavor's son, Dabi explains. He probably ran away. How do you know him then? Izuku asks, crossing his arms. He's mentioned in interviews. Dabi answers. Look, I know you don't like Endeavor, but Shoto is not Endeavor. So if that's Wa, Izuku is easily cut off. That's my brother, Deku. Oh shit, Shoto is my brother. The room falls silent as Izuku tries to grasp the situation. That makes sense as to why he thought Shoto looked so familiar. And why it was hard to decide just one face. He looks like his brother, and as rude as it is, he picked up some traits of his father. It's better he's here than his house. This is the most genuine he's ever even heard from Dabi. To be fair, even when his actions said he was concerned, he acts like he's angry or couldn't care less. This is serious. It also happens to explain the many burns. They were the rarest of rumors a few years back, but people said stories of Endeavor's child burning alive and dying on Sekoto Peak. Todoroki Tsuya. Some say it was a quirk accident, others say Endeavor himself killed him. Izuku tried to look into it at the time, since occasionally he and Himiko would expose a shitty hero publicly, but security was too tight. Whatever rumor is true, it doesn't change the fact a somehow still alive Todoroki Tsuya is standing in front of him craving revenge. How the air there two of the number 2 hero's kids in his goddamn treehouse. Dabi, how the hell is he supposed to approach this level of trauma? He's literally some vigilante who lives in a treehouse like a cartoon character would. I can go outside with Himiko and let you two talk. Is that a decent response? I don't know how good an idea it'd be for him to know. Dabi mumbles. I haven't been his brother for 9 years, or something like that. He'd be pissed. Does he even know you got burned? Izuku asks. Who knows, maybe whatever Dabi responds with might have the story as well. The bastard probably told them it was a quirk accident or some shit. I don't know, or care. Oh in God, did Endeavor actually try to kill someone? Whatever it was, I didn't go back. That definitely upset him. Dabi, he says he has 3 siblings. Pretty sure you still count. Izuku informs. Nothing but the truth. Dabi stares down at him for a few seconds, before brushing it off. Don't get all sentimental. He probably didn't think too much of the difference between had and have. Izuku stares at him with an unimpressed expression. Fine, I'll talk to him. Off I go then, Izuku announces, finally not whispering. He returns the behavior of dragging one another into a room as he leaves Dabi to talk to Shoto. The two are now standing face to face as Izuku leaves the treehouse. He heads down, which earns him a confused look from Himiko. Why'd you leave him up there? She asks, yanking back a syringe. Apparently those two know each other. Izuku shrugs, not elaborating as it's not his story to share. All he needs to do for now is wait. Shoto is immensely confused by the man in front of him. It's as if he reminds him of someone but he can't think of who. The quirk and eye color are the same. There's no one in mind. Midoriya leaves the house without a word, only making this more confusing. Did I do something? Shoto asks, not knowing whatever he needs to say. Dabi leaves from behind the door, grumbling as he approaches. I don't know if I offended you. All these years and you're still so cooped up about what others think. He mumbles. That's personal. You didn't know me years ago. Unless you happen to work with my father. Does he know? I didn't work with Endeavor, Shoto. Dabi starts. And I know who your father is. He's my dad too. Oh shit, Chuya, Shoto mutters, under his breath. I thought you died. He feels ice slowly covering the right side of his body. He's shocked. I didn't. Maybe I should be dead. Let's not talk about me burning alive after not seeing each other for 9 years maybe. Shoto stares at him, unsure of what to even think right now. His brother is here, in the flesh. He accidentally burnt himself but he's still standing. If it's not talking about your supposed death, how did you survive? He asks. He feels the need for evidence. As if the answer to his question determines if this is Chuya. He looks and acts so much like Chuya, but is also completely different. I don't know. It took what, 3 years? But I woke up in some hospital. I don't know. Okay. It's hard for Shoto to understand when people don't want to talk about something, but right now, he doesn't even want to risk asking. Alright, sorry. Shoto apologizes. All that does is make his eye twitch. I'm not going to be a little bitch over you saying something. Much less something that's not even offensive. Don't apologize over it. I'll tell you about it, just not now. Aight, Chuya explains. Shoto reluctantly nods. Great, awesome, yeah, so, you ran away. Why? Fuyumi got a job so she'll likely move. Natsuo is going to college and I doubt he'd look back knowing him. Shoto says. I started talking to them more. Makes things more bearable. Chuya looks confused the second he mentions they talk. The bastard lets you talk to them. Oh, that's who he got calling him a bastard from. No, Natsuo gave me a flip phone. I took the battery out but I have it. Well, of course he would do that. As for what you said earlier though, he wouldn't be the type to look back at Endeavor, no. Chuya shrugs. But he'd look back at you. I know him too. That's sentimental. I forgot how corny being a brother is, ew. Oh, did I do something? Clearly Chuya isn't pleased by something. No, didn't I tell you to stop worrying about upsetting people? You aren't some doll, don't be a people pleaser. He didn't say that. You just brought up that it's something you think I do. Not that I should stop. Shoto says. Well, I'm telling you now. Chuya puts a finger to Shoto's forehead, as if keeping a shark at bay. What even is a people pleaser? Shoto asks, swatting his hand away. It's in the name. Chuya responds. So someone who tries not to upset others. Isn't that human decency? You used to do that with us all the time. Well, I don't anymore. Shoto argues. Chuya seems to give up. Anyway, we were talking about Natsuo and Fuyumi, but they would miss you. I can't see them. Chuya responds, as if on cue. I'd wanted to, and knows I tried, but I can't. I'm on thin enough ice, I don't need that asshole knowing I'm alive. God knows what you need to do since everyone thinks you're alive. Should I go back then? I don't want them to find you guys. Shoto asks. Going back, he'd be doomed by even being in a vicinity of his father after what he pulled. Who is he kidding? He's doomed. They're going to find him and send him back. He's going to have to do those exams and the second that's over with he won't have to worry about how hurt he is until UA starts up. Or maybe he'll fail the exams due to injuries sustained and all he'll have is hell to pay. Maybe he should go back with the chance Endeavor didn't notice his absence. Then again, he definitely noticed by now due to training. Oh, he's not breathing right. He's also freezing over again. You're not going back, Shoto. If you're safer with 3 vigilantes instead of your own father, you aren't going back to that piece of shit. Breathe. Has Chuya been talking? He puts a hand over his mouth to stop himself from hyperventilating. Well, this is familiar. I told you to breathe, not suffocate. You're fine. Shoto eventually feels his breathing regulate. Why has that started happening more? God damn it. The silence persists for a while. I missed you, Shoto mumbles. He doesn't even realize he said that. The tension lifts. I overheard you say your plan B was being a vigilante. You barely started though. I didn't want to get involved with the whole quirk system. Heroes, villains, yada yada. I guess for a while I wanted to be a hero. Then a villain. I stayed away from that shit though. Chuya explains. What changed? Shoto asks, used to having to look up when talking to him. I was out on the streets for like 6 years. Had more time to think. Chuya responds. I wanted to ask though. How are Mom Natsuo and Fuyumi? Chuya doesn't even know where he got the burn from. Natsuo and Fuyumi are fine. But Mom, I haven't seen her since around after I last saw you. Chuya goes wide-eyed. Did he kill her? He asks, almost immediately. What? No. Why is that the first thing you thought of? Shoto asks, startled by the reaction. I don't know. Okay. I wouldn't put it past him. Where is she? Chuya almost shouts as he speaks. She's been in the mental hospital all this time. Shoto mumbles. For what? Chuya seems more angry about this than anything. Shoto can only reluctantly point at the scar. She burned you. It was an accident. Plus, I'm the one who startled her. And she was really upset after thinking you died. Not to mention everything with Endeavor, it wasn't her fault, alright. He put her there even though if he weren't like that she wouldn't have done it. He says, really quickly. She burned half your face and it's somehow being traced back to your actions. She burnt you and is a grown-ass woman who can take responsibility for her actions. I know she definitely wouldn't do that if she weren't so in her own head, but don't put it on yourself. I'm going to go off on a limb and assume you don't want to explain why. Shoto nods. I missed a lot. We can talk about this when people aren't waiting, yeah. Oh, the conversation is over. Fun. More time to think about the fact he's talking to his brother who's been dead for almost a decade. The two head outside and go to the ground. Are we all good and reunited? Midoriya asks. Reunited? You said they know each other. Not new. Toga pouts. Oh, sorry. Midoriya apologizes. You two look alike, she points out. Yeah, 'cause he's my brother, genius. Chuya responds carelessly. Oh, cool. Toga stands up. She seems very energetic. Anyway, want to join our group? We only do quirkless fighting though. How can you offer that so carelessly? You're asking me to be a vigilante. Shoto concludes. She simply nods. You seem to rely on your quirk a bit, so you'd do well with quirkless combat training. Midoriya explains. Only if you want to. He feels a sense of security knowing it's an offer, but the word training makes it seem god-awful. Even so. Alright, Shoto says, simply. You need a disguise though. Midoriya adds. Can we collectively agree to close the group off at 4 members? Everyone seems to agree. We can commission Mei for a costume. I can snag a wallet or 2 on patrol. Toga starts. But what about the hair and burn? And eyes? It's obvious who he is. Her mouth forms an O after she brings up this point. We can get Nito. We have that covered, but we can't keep him in the treehouse at all times. He needs a way he can go out without being caught. I don't think hair dye and colored contacts would fix this. He stands out too much. Midoriya notes. I don't have to go outside. Shoto offers. I never really did before this. That explains a lot. Midoriya comments. What's that supposed to mean? Chuya cuts in. His social skills rival my own for last place. He deadpans. However, for now we can have you out on patrols, but otherwise only in the city with one of us till we figure something out. Sound good? Alright, Shoto nods. He doesn't want to pose a danger anyway. The discussion concludes with Midoriya texting someone on a social media app whose contact name is Ditto, for whatever reason. I thought his name was Nito. Shoto comments. Toga laughs as Midoriya explains contact names to him. Chapter text. Nito looks at his friends from school and some guy they brought in sitting and standing in his room as they sacrifice this poor kid's hair to whatever Nito decides looks decent. His mother isn't home but trusts him to have a few friends over while she's working. To be fair, he should probably not have vigilantes over when his mother is doing hero work, but he knew them before they even became that. Well, minus whoever Shoto is. Plus, Mei and Hitoshi are here. He is really happy his friends went to him to dye Shoto's hair though. They should probably be more cautious inviting strangers to live with them, but he's excited about this. So, Shoto's hair is slightly longer than my own, but the styles are similar. And the bangs sections, Nito explains. We are not making him blonde. Hitoshi snaps. Calm down, I wasn't planning on it. It wouldn't even suit him, no offense. Nito shrugs. Why would I be offended? Shoto asks. He's been pretty quiet so far. Good question. Nito starts, energetically. Anyway, we can keep the split dye but make one side of your hair black, or the whole thing. Or we can do full red or white. Though I can't do anything about the scar. It stands out if you're a runaway hiding, but it goes all the way down your face so bangs wouldn't cover it. He reconsiders the full black dye. Maybe I can dye your hair all black so you and Dabi look like brothers. Nito jokes. The turquoise eyes, and I in Shoto's case look like the exact same shade. He grabs a strand of the red side of his hair. Why am I the last to figure we're brothers? Shoto asks. Nito was just joking. Are they actually long-lost brothers or something? Wait, what? Nito yelps. I was joking. And aren't you endeavors so? Nito cuts himself off before finishing the word. He figures from the posters of a missing child set up, but he was never actually told. Endeavor doesn't even have any of his son's photos for reference though. Sorry. It's fine. Shoto shrugs it off. Like it means nothing. Chuya was pronounced dead at 13 years old. He had a quirk accident so we thought he died, hence the burns. Oh, that's dark. Right. Nito mumbles. Any color you have in mind though? Can we just get rid of the red? Maybe color it black, I don't know. Shoto decides. You sound unsure. Nito comments. Okay. It's fine if you get rid of the red. I don't want it, he concludes. Nito shrugs and turns to the others. Can someone go run and get black hair dye so I can set up? Nito asks. I can go. Mei beams, standing. Does the buddy system work? Izuku asks, stepping forward from the wall he was leaning on. Okay. You two, go. Hitoshi. Himiko mostly Himiko, don't touch anything. You can sit wherever but stay away from where I'm setting up. You hear that, Himiko? Hitoshi teases. Why especially Himiko? She pouts. You know why. Shoto. Just wait with them. How much do you care about the clothes you're wearing? Nito asks. I don't have a whole wardrobe. Shoto replies. Shit. He only has a few sets since he ran. Okay. Fair enough. Sorry. I should have figured it out. Okay. We'll see you Mei and Izuku. Mei salutes as Izuku drags her out waving. I can probably find some shirt and pants I don't care about. Hold on. Nito looks through his drawers and eventually at the bottom of one he sees a shirt he never wears. He finds a pair of shorts too. Go change in the bathroom, unless you want dye all over your clothes. Shoto takes the clothes and goes to the bathroom. Nito starts setting up towels to not make a mess with dye. How professional. Hitoshi comments. You need help there. No. Nito responds, focused on the task at hand. What about payment? Mei gives us discounts but we still get charged because it's an artist's work. Himiko crosses her arms. What you pay Mei for is for your vigilante work. This is just so he can go out without the threat of the number 2 hero. It feels like such a simple answer to him. Generosity may be foreign though. And who wonders why? It's obvious. Shoto comes back to the room, though the clothes look a bit small. The height difference isn't huge but definitely noticeable, so that makes sense. What will you do with them after? Shoto asks, gesturing to the clothes. Throw them out. For now just sit anywhere. Nito responds, done with the setup. He sits by where Himiko is laying on the carpet. It's not uncommon to go near the person you knew the most. Hitoshi uses his phone in silence till oddly, of all people, Shoto breaks said silence. I've been meaning to ask. What do I call you? He starts. Monoma. Nito responds. Monoma Nito. I'm sure they only introduced me as Nito though. Shoto nods in response. You and Toga have different last names, but are you siblings? Nito and Himiko nod in sync. Twins, actually. Nito corrects. Yeah, but he got adopted when we were in separate foster homes. Himiko adds. Well, that's a bit personal. You were in foster care. Great. More personal stuff. Nito knows Himiko has a hard time understanding what is too personal for her to share about the both of them, but it is frustrating. Hitoshi came to his rescue to answer for them. Yeah, me, Izuku, Himiko and Nito were. We met at the orphanage. I got there at 6 years old, the twins were 7 and Izuku was 4. We met Mei at school though. Orphanage. Why? Oh, great. Nito isn't too fond of the memory, but it has been long enough he's okay with sharing. Hitoshi seems kind of silent. I think it was based around quirks for all of us. Besides Izuku, he didn't know his. Hitoshi explains. He's not bringing up Izuku's quirklessness. As far as he's aware, Shoto and Dabi know none of their quirks. People get orphaned because they're quirks. Shoto asks, does he really not know? Then again, Endeavor has some flashy fire quirk. He probably has something similar. A lot of stuff happens to people with weak, villainous or no quirks at all. Nito says. Himiko looks to Nito, as if needing permission to share something. He nods. Himiko sits up. I got Nito and I orphaned since I was caught eating a bird. Well, drinking its blood. But it was already dead. He defended me so that got us both here. Don't treat it like your fault. They were just looking for a reason. Nito comments. He notes that Shoto doesn't seem to have much of a filter. It doesn't seem malicious though. Do you know about discrimination? Kind of. Shoto says, not elaborating. The eyes on him likely urge him to continue. My older siblings, all 3, they were supposed to have a quirk like mine. They didn't though. They weren't orphaned. That's bad reputation-wise. Just ignored. Chuya kind of had what was intended, but his quirk burns him. He got my mother's constitution. I didn't think people were outright harmful though. Why do you think most villains are villains? Nito starts, before realizing. He doesn't know Shoto's life or why he's so sheltered from this topic. For all he knows he has to worry about something else. Hitoshi doesn't seem to get that hint. Nito notices the gritted teeth and clenched fists. Hitoshi can be a bit spiteful to people with flashy quirks. He knows why, but it does impact an arrogant nature. Nito goes over to Hitoshi and sits by him, sparing him a glance to at least acknowledge him. Hitoshi seems to calm down. Did I say something wrong? Shoto asks. He seems socially inadequate, as rude as that sounds. Nito can't help but feel guilty. He's so used to the stronger preying on the weak that it's a natural instinct to assume it's all from a place of malicious intent. No, you're good, Nito responds. Izuku and Mei burst through the door at this moment. Thank God. We got the goods, Mei announces, tossing a box of cheap hair dye at him. Have you ever done this before? Hitoshi asks. I did research. Plus, I didn't do piercings before with you and they look great. Not to mention never got infected. Nito brags. I do look great, you're right, diva. Hitoshi remarks. Nito rolls his eyes as he opens the hair dye box. Now sit in the towel pile, Shoto. Nito says. You don't deny being a diva. Hitoshi asks. I know my worth. Nito retorts. Does he though? Shoto goes to sit in the pile. Nito, who's also in clothes he uses when working with bleach, sections the hair and uses Vaseline on one side of it. Shoto looks slightly conflicted, having second thoughts. No, but what are your quirks? Out of curiosity, Nito freezes, and he notices half the people in the room doing so. It's not an invalid question, and it's not like he's trying to be rude. Nito clips the white bangs behind his head, deliberately touching his forehead in the process. He can't understand what a quirk does exactly when he copies it, but he knows it's an emitter. He pulls his hands back. He tries to use it in both, one at a time. A half-and-half quirk of ice and fire. Shit, that's a flashy as hell quirk and they're always rooting snobs. He looks to his friends, who stare back. They all eventually nod at each other. I can start. Mei beams, but it isn't as genuine as her usual tone. It sounds very fake. She isn't the best liar. I can see up to 2 kilometers by zooming in my vision. She explains. It's a test. Shoto nods. No real reaction or care. It's just acknowledgement. You next then. I can emit ice from my right side and fire from my left. He simply explains. Jesus, that's op. You'll have to tell me more about it later. Izuku beams, forgetting his previously upset mood. Shoto simply nods. I won't use my fire though. Well, that's concerning. No one seems to volunteer, so eventually Hitoshi speaks. I can brainwash whoever responds to something I say, so long as right before I think, I will brainwash this person. Or just generally have a will to do so. Hitoshi mumbles. Brainwash. Shoto asks. Just get them to do whatever I want. I can't make them speak though. At least not yet. Hitoshi explains. Mei goes right next to him and puts a hand on his shoulder. Are you one of the friends Midoriya says wants to become a hero? Hitoshi nods to Shoto's question. That's a useful quirk. There are practically stars in Hitoshi's eyes. Nito would guess it's not in the sense of receiving compliments from a god. Just human decency from someone with a quirk that makes people like themselves practically bow to those with quirks like his. And if Hitoshi's quirk isn't immediately deduced as useful for a villain, maybe it gives this guy points. Don't get Nito wrong, he doesn't want to perceive anyone with flashy quirks as a jackass, but sometimes it's necessary to be cautious. He's cautious around everyone though, to be fair. He also sometimes feels the need to prove himself by being better than said flashy quirk people. If they're assumed to be better, he'll one-up them. But Shoto seems tame. It's honestly comforting. But Nito knows not to immediately trust him. He'll keep him at arm's length. To be fair, he did that with everyone he's friends with now. I want to go next. Himiko volunteers. Right, quirks. If I drink someone's blood I can turn into them. 1 cup lets me look and sound like someone for about a day. I've been training to use their quirks too. Is that why you drank bird blood? Shoto asks. Well, the bird was cute, and blood is even better, so I drank it. He doesn't even seem judgmental. Nito can't help but feel defensive. Do you drink the blood of animals you find cute? He asks. I guess. Only if they're already bleeding though. And I have everyone here besides your blood. Only for emergencies. But people think I'm actively trying to stab someone. Maybe I would have if I didn't moderate how much blood I drink. Himiko pouts. Plus, some foods have blood. A necessity is a necessity. Shoto shrugs. This is way too decent. Is a strong, quirked person being nice this odd? He notices a few eyes on him. Oh, his turn. Now that the hair is ready he taps Mei's shoulder to copy her quirk and puts on gloves. I'll use it right now. He shrugs. Nito starts to slowly color his hair with his vision zoomed in for detail. I can copy quirks. Whoever I touch I can use their quirk for 5 minutes. My capacity is 3 though, and I can't use them simultaneously. He explains. You could never be a hero with a quirk like that. If it's just you and the villain you'll die in battle. May as well kill yourself now rather than dying in vain failing to save someone. Oh, okay. That's also useful. You'd think such a bigoted hero's son would be more judgmental. Nito smiles. And you, Midoriya? Izuku looks uncomfortable like hell. And wary. I have none. Izuku answers. There is no pitiful, hateful or even disappointed glance. Just a nod in acknowledgement. Stay still, Nito says, sparing the others a smile before continuing to work. Back on the top of his scar. Mei starts. I can make a mask. It feels wrong finding ways to cover someone's scar. It's that or he gets taken back. Nito has no clue why he ran, therefore will not bother. A plain one. Shoto asks. I guess. Or just wear a face mask and sunglasses. Mei responds. That all makes sense, but his hair is still obvious. Izuku points out. He can wear a beanie. I'll lend him one. Hitoshi adds. Suspicious as hell, but it's not even abnormal to see anyone with no face at all. Izuku shrugs. Thanks, Shoto says. As Nito works with the dye, he can't help but contemplate telling Dabi about the no fire use thing. Chapter text. Shoto fiddles with the bangs of his newly half-dyed hair as he waits for further instruction on whatever this quirkless training session has to offer. He's been taught combat before, but primarily with quirk usage. He doesn't even know where those around him stand in terms of combat. Not even Tuya, despite receiving similar training from when Tuya himself was a kid. The presence of said brother makes it a bit easier to be training with others around. The others by the treehouse are Midoriya, Shinso, Monoma, Toga and Hatsume. Well, she insists on being called Mei. She's mostly here for what she explained as inspiration on how to cover loose ends with her equipment. It almost feels insulting. As far as Shoto is aware, out of those his age here, Midoriya is the strongest. Maybe it's because he's been on his own the longest time. It'd explain why he's almost like a leader, but not even self-appointed. The others seem to respect him greatly. Alright, Shoto, Midoriya starts. How about you and I have a match to see where you're at? He offers. A match, alright, Shoto agrees, putting his jacket to the side. The two get into fighting stances as those around the two step back to make room. The second the countdown goes off, he feels pressure on his face around his scar and he's on the ground. Didn't you say you could fight? Midoriya asks, standing up from where he previously tackled Shoto. Shoto is quick to do the same. I could. Apparently not against you. Shoto crosses his arms. Right, Tuya recalls. Endeavor is only ever focused on quirk training. No offense, Shoto, but this isn't exactly your department. Endeavor is too worked up about quirks to even think about actual in-combat without. Why do you think there's 4 of us? Izuku facepalms. If he recalls, that's the gesture that indicates frustration and annoyance. More mild though, Shoto can't tell what he's mad at. If Eraserhead faced him, Endeavor would die in battle. He can't teach someone to fight yet had all that muscle. Eraserhead, Chuya asks. He's a hero. We know him, he's cool. Mei says, while writing. If she weren't multitasking she'd be more energetic. Know him, he's Hitoshi's dad. Toga corrects. Wow, I feel so low. Shinso deadpans. You'll probably run into him on patrol. He basically keeps us from dying. Midoriya shrugs. I've been to his house. He's terrifying. Monoma adds. If terrifying means saving Izuku before he falls off a building. Toga snickers. You fell off a building? Chuya asks. Actually, I met you when you were basically bleeding out. Why am I surprised? Well, that's news. His husband is way less intimidating. Mei laughs. Present Mike. Maybe not share all of my dad's personal information. Shinso says. Shoto almost looks worried. I'm joking. They just don't tell anyone for safety reasons. That's actually reassuring. Does he know you, his child, associate with vigilantes? Shoto asks. Hitoshi shrugs. Neither of them need to. I knew them before they were vigilantes. All they know is that I have friends from the orphanage. Why are you allowed out here then? Did you say you're getting groceries or? He doesn't pay attention to the faces around him as his mind is clouded with questions. I said I'm hanging out with friends. I'm 14, I'm allowed out. Shinso responds. They just let you see friends. Shoto asks. He himself is never allowed outside. Even if it's going to the kitchen. The concept is foreign. Is there a reason I shouldn't be trusted? Shinso asks. He almost sounds skeptical. The second the question comes out he puts a hand over his mouth. Shoto has no clue why. There isn't. Is he mad? The hand around his mouth falls. Chuya cuts in. The idea of being allowed outside is foreign to him. I don't know if you think it's about your quirk but it's really not. Shinso nods in acknowledgement. All right then, he mumbles. We got off track. Midoriya announces. Nito, you can fight him. I'm not at your guy's close combat level. Monoma points out. No offense, but that's the point. Midoriya responds. The best is Himiko, then Hitoshi, then you. Flattered. Toga says with a bow. Where do I stand? Mei asks. You carry heavy-ass equipment all day. Even without your items, you could kick our asses. Shinso answers. Okay, Nito, Shoto, go ahead. Midoriya orders, stepping back. The two get into fighting stances. It takes a few minutes, but soon Shoto is on the group again. I don't get it, he mumbles. I've had years of training. So have we. Nito points out. It was pretty much do or die in some cases. That makes even less sense. because if he didn't train, he'd be dead himself. We do a lot of training. With or without quirks. It used to be without, so now we focus on training quirks a lot more. Midoriya explains. Then what do you do while they train them? Shoto asks. Midoriya freezes. What, is yours something that can't be trained? Chuya asks. Oh, he doesn't know. Right, about that, Midoriya mumbles. I didn't tell you, but I don't have one. Silence fills the area. Right, Chuya says. He has no idea what makes him all negative. Chuya has never held any prejudice toward anyone of any quirk. All Chuya can think about is Deku mumbling about how the name Deku is relevant to his quirk. Anyway, Midoriya starts. We can do combat training and in a week you can join us on the field. Shoto can't help but feel a bit upset that it will take a week till he's somewhat capable. These people don't even seem mad about it though. And, well, I was wondering if you'd want to train your quirk sometimes too. All of it. Shoto stares at him, offended. It's none of his business how much of his quirk is used. Is that a joke? I don't use my full quirk for a reason. He pauses, but eventually decides it's okay for them to know. My mother. She didn't like how similar the left side of my face, of me. She didn't like how similar it looked to the bastard. Eyes of those around him widen as he speaks. She's the one who burned me, because it was so unbearable to her. And she is right. He forced her into marriage for a kid with some stupid quirk. And tried 4 times, 4. He wanted a minion, but I'm not going to be that. I'm not using his quirk, because I don't need the fire and I don't need him. Resentment seeps into the words he speaks with utter hatred. He's pissed. Stop talking about it as if it's his quirk. It's your quirk, not his. You have a quirk that's powerful. Don't not use it because you think it brings you to his level or satisfies him, use it for your sake. It's your quirk. Shoto and his mother watch the news. All Might is talking to the camera, saying that anyone can be a hero. He was never interested in All Might himself, but that's a strong message. He knows he has to be a hero though. What kind of hero do you want to be, Shoto? His mother asks, with fondness in her voice. She never smiles like this. Isn't me having to be a hero why you got hurt? Shoto asks. You're not hurting me, and there's more heroes. Good ones. Not all of them hurt people. For once he can recognize the sadness in tone. But you do still want to be a hero, right? For once in his life, he can smile too. Hey, Chuya's voice distracts him from the memory. He holds a hand in front of him and lights a fire in it. Am I Endeavor, Shoto? Shoto stares at the fire, noting the anger in his voice. Am I that piece of shit I'm forced to call my father? Chuya repeats. You're not, Shoto says. Chuya taps his forehead. Then neither are you. Shoto stares at the eyes all following his actions. Midoriya as a point that Chuya proved. He basically just implied Chuya is using Endeavor's quirk. Shoto hardly knows what to do here. But if Chuya isn't Endeavor, the same logic should apply. He holds his left hand out. The sight of the orange flame isn't something he's used to coming from himself. He immediately puts it out. Midoriya smiles widely before tackling him and wrapping his arms around him. Is this a hug? Your quirk is awesome. Midoriya beams. He's really into quirks. Nito explains, also smiling. Chuya ruffles his hair. Shoto almost smiles, but also almost holds his tongue as he gets an idea. Almost. Do you want to see Mom? Izuku and Himiko are now alone since their guests left, and the 2 new treehouse residents are out to see their mother. Hey, Izuku. Himiko starts. What? Izuku asks, sharpening his knives. Do you want to go to UA? She asks. He pauses. Shoto probably won't attend any school. Their group home still hasn't reported them missing, so if they aren't in any school, they may be dead to the world. Like Chuya and soon to be Shoto. Nah, he responds. Shoto can't go to school. I'll get a job or something. Maybe keep him company. I'll do things my way too. Himiko says, smiling. I'm not going to school either. The conversation seems to be over. As he sharpens his knives, he can't help but think about what Shoto said earlier. He himself doesn't even know his dad. At least he hardly remembers him. If he had his fire-breathing quirk though, he'd use it. Izuku knows it's wrong to be spiteful over someone not using their quirk to its fullest extent, but quirks are such a privilege. Hell, he'd use his mom's quirk even though she abandoned him with no clear reason. It feels pathetic being so upset about it. He came to terms with his lack of quirk. Why is he so envious of others? Or maybe it's not envy. Maybe it's anger that someone as stupid as Endeavor got in the way of someone using their natural abilities. He can't tell. He's just upset. The security here is god-awful, Chuya announces as he fiddles with the visitor pass. I agree, but please. Say it louder for the people in the back. Shoto deadpans. Chuya already sees the fear behind the sentence. Should I leave the mask and glasses on? So they didn't get recognized. He has a mask, sunglasses and a beanie. Why would you even? Chuya asks. Though they both know the answer. It's the burn. He takes his glasses off for him, and Shoto lowers the mask himself. Now the two stand in front of the door which their mother is behind. They both haven't seen her for the same amount of time for completely different reasons. Chuya would never admit it, but he's scared as hell. The only family member he reunited with, the reunion was an accident. Not that he'd change that. He looks at Shoto, who looks grim. Chuya doubts Shoto will be the first to walk in. Guess that's his job. He takes a deep breath before opening the door and putting a hand on Shoto's shoulder to lead him inside. The white-haired woman is sitting in front of a TV. He can't tell what her expression is from this angle, but based on the news channel it's likely not good. It's announcing Shoto being missing, but there's no photo. His mother is watching the news explain how she might have lost another son. Chuya closes the door and Shoto steps forward. Hi, Shoto says, head low. No way. He hasn't seen his mom for 10 years, and that's all he says. Actually, Chuya hasn't even said anything himself. He has no place to judge. At least that caught her attention. She turns around quick enough to get whiplash and stands. Shoto, Chuya. Her voice is quiet, but she's immediately in front of them. You're both alive. It's clear she took note of the burns they both have. She sounds and looks distraught. Maybe it's because she wasn't supposed to see either of them ever again. I didn't think you'd recognize me. Chuya mumbles. He can't even get a normal response from himself. Of course I'd recognize both of you. She confirms, as she tears up. Where have you been? How have you survived? Where are you staying? Chuya lets go of Shoto's shoulder. Apparently some hospital took care of me. He answers. He told Shoto he didn't want to talk about it, but this is his mother. They said I couldn't leave. I wanted to get back so I set fire to the building. He explains. He feels his mother's arms wrap around him. He returns the gesture, hugging her back. Eventually that comes to an end. He stands back as Shoto and his mother make eye contact. Even in other circumstances, he's always hated eye contact. I'm sorry, she says, solemnly. I blamed him anyway. I'm not mad, Shoto responds. You should be. I'm a grown woman who can take accountability. I can't use the situation as a scapegoat for my wrong actions. She states, calm and collected. I hurt my son, and at the very least can take accountability. I hurt you, I'm sorry. He looks indifferent, but this is the point Chuya himself tried explaining to him before. I forgive you then, Shoto concludes. He's always struggling with deeper topics, and can even have issues just expressing his emotions. A lot of issues. This is going better than expected. Why are you reported missing? Their mother asks. Have you two been staying together? I ran away, Shoto says. It's fine though. We joined a vigilante group. We've been staying with them. Chuya explains. That's probably not much better. If it weren't for those two, I don't know where I'd be. Shoto's been safe too. Vigilantes. She parrots. I'm so glad you're safe. You can sit anywhere. I have drinks in the fridge. She announces, turning the TV off. Shoto and Chuya sit together as she sits on her chair. Do Natsuo and Fuyumi know where you are? No, Shoto answers. Today is one of their visiting days. Ah shit. He hears the door. Chuya was nodding, planning for a family reunion with everyone who actually matters to him. The two walk into the room, wide-eyed upon seeing the two. They look so grown. Fuyumi has glasses now and Natsuo is taller than everyone in the room. Oh this. Did they even recognize him? No one speaks as Tuya and Shoto stand from where they were sitting. You're both here, Fuyumi comments. Alive. She and Natsuo both have frost along their arms, likely a side effect to their shock. Now he knows where Shoto gets that from. It's been 9 years, Tuya. And where did you go, Shoto? She asks, walking closer. I'm sorry, he shouts, hands up in what comes off as a surrender of some sort. I couldn't see you guys as much as I wanted to. I was on thin enough ice. Why didn't you come home then? You had a quirk accident, but he'd get bad media if he kicked his own son out. Natsuo questions. Because it wasn't a quirk accident. Tuya admits. This is the last thing he wanted to talk about. He tried to kill me. I'd be dead if I went back. All motion in the room comes to a close. He's breathing heavily as something he's been putting off for so long is finally brought to light. He's pretty sure he and Shoto are the only ones in the room, not in tears. He himself physically cannot cry, and Shoto doesn't really cry when he's upset. I'm glad you're alive then. Fuyumi admits. And you Shoto, all you left was a note. Sorry, didn't think you'd need more. He replies. Shit, how are you both here? Mom, how long have you known? Natsuo questions. They just got here, she answers. God. Natsuo complains. Endeavor is pissed. I've been staying with a friend as of late. But we have to keep both of you away from him. We've been staying in a forest, we're low profile enough. You know Asani and Jinx. They live in a treehouse and let us stay. Tuya comments. What are they even supposed to talk about now? It's been years. So they talk. They talk for hours catching up on everything they couldn't say before. Chapter text. Izuku's day so far has been filled with inconveniences he's pretty used to. Doesn't make them any less annoying. He can't even sleep that well, because he keeps waking up from various nightmares. They'd be great on a TV screen, his brain has good lore. However, when he's trying to sleep he rather not have himself be portraying his shit days as goddamn mental movies. He gives up on sleeping by 3 and goes to the kitchen for some coffee. He knows Himiko is a deep sleeper but prays to God Shoto and Dabi aren't when he gets to the living room. Coffee acquired. He himself is too tired to bother when he notices the 3 turquoise and 1 gray eye staring as he heads back to his room. Izuku whispers an apology and goes inside. And who knew drinking too fast causes hiccups? He sure as hell didn't. He thought that was only when you eat. Now after chugging coffee, he has those to deal with. Izuku scrolls on his phone, bored out of his mind. And of course, his battery dies and he has to head out. He can probably find some cafe with a charger. They do have a power bank, but he likes charging that outside of those fancy stores as least as possible. His hiccups persist, even when he and Himiko make it to school. Until he goes to the locker room for PE and is attacked by a group of guys for being a good-for-nothing waste. Yeah, that was fun. There's no way he'd not win had he fought back, but he's not so tired he can't tell that'd make things worse. He would rather not get expelled. He was already pretty beat when he got to class. His friends seemed worried but he could hardly spare them a glance. But then the teacher pointed out their career choices. Izuku didn't do the paper. So of course she, in front of the whole class, says that if Izuku can't get a decent career he may as well kill himself because his life is headed nowhere. If those words came from someone who mattered, he'd be off the roof in seconds. Not that he hasn't considered it, but for now he's watching over his friends. He doesn't plan on dying while Himiko is figuring out her future, or while Tuya is learning about their unspoken rules as vigilantes, or even while Shoto is under Endeavor's threat. They could probably figure it out but may as well try. Currently, Izuku is walking home alone. Himiko is on a sibling outing with Nito. She saved a bit of money from pickpocketing the more jackassy villains. They'll probably just eat a meal and she'll return with some hair clips she finds cute. Izuku stares at the area he's walking in. He's taking the longer way since he wants to walk and clear his head. He hears sloshing from behind him as he's in the shade. You're in the right place at the right time. Izuku turns around. There's a liquid-looking man behind him, the only solid things being red eyes. Does he want directions? A skinsuit this plain and I'm sure I won't get caught. Ah, skinsuit. Wait, plain. Oh this jackass. You make sewage look edible you asshole. Izuku mumbles under his breath. He takes his knife and readies it. Guess he'll go for the eyes. I am here. What? The. Izuku turns to the source of the noise as the villain charges towards him. The villain is quickly halted by a tall blonde man. Is that All Might? Izuku quickly hides his knife. The villain gets punched into oblivion and is shoved in a bottle. Odd choice. Young man. The loud booming voice says. Oh shit. The number one pro hero is addressing Izuku. Izuku used to be his biggest fan. Lately he's been into other pro heroes but his All Might hyperfixation is forever in mind. I'm alive, he mumbles. Well that was pathetic, try again. He attacked me on my way home. The All Might walks over and pats him on the head. He immediately steps back. That must have been terrifying. You're safe now, citizen. Well he's not as enthusiastic. He's pretty sure no one would accept any physical contact from a total stranger after almost being attacked. Izuku is startled enough by physical contact that he already wants to punch this guy. Obviously he won't punch the number one hero. But had it been someone else, maybe. Then Izuku gets an idea. Sir, I have a really important question. He points out, with the most innocent voice he can pull off. I love chatting with the public, but I ought to go. Izuku can't help but think about how negligent a hero has to be to not ask or check any injuries, call the paramedics when someone was potentially attacked by someone made of liquid or anything of the sort. Is he serious? Even if he's in a rush, he can send someone. He has a lot of ties as the number one hero. Maybe he knows the guy didn't get to Izuku somehow. Oh who is he kidding? The second he sees All Might ready to hop away, he runs. Wait. Suddenly the wind feels a lot stronger. Oh shit, he's holding onto the number one hero's leg for dear life. Fun. This day just gets better and better. What are you doing? Let go. All Might yells. Excuse my stupidity, but I have enough brain cells to know I'd be dead. Izuku shouts back. Alright then, hold on. Maybe Izuku should have taken his teacher's advice. They soon land on a rooftop. Your actions were incredibly reckless and you could have gotten yourself killed. All Might scolds, the second they land. I know, stupid move. I'm sorry, Izuku mutters, under his breath. Can he even ask any more? I just wanted to know. Could a quirkless person? Izuku knows this question is for an experiment. He knows he can, probably. Why is it so difficult to ask though? Can a quirkless person be a hero? Silence falls upon the rooftop, up until a cloud of smoke appears. Oh great, a skeleton. Now where the is All Might? Himiko. Oh no, she can't copy quirks. Who the hell are you? Oh shit, you're All Might. How many debuffs did that take? Izuku shouts, before his voice dissolves into muttering. Likely an injury then, because in the last 5 years the statistics of public appearance drastically decreased. That makes more sense then. I'm muttering. All Might coughs up blood. Is that normal for him? You know your stuff, huh? But yeah, I am All Might. And I did get an injury. 5 years ago I got into a fight. All Might lifts his shirt enough to display a blood-curdling scar. I lost my whole stomach. Was that the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? Izuku asks, inspecting the injury from afar. It's soon to be covered. You clearly did your research. The answer is no however. The punk landed a few hits, but couldn't do this. All Might explains. I made sure everyone who knew kept it under wraps. If Izuku didn't know any better, he'd think that meant he killed people. As for being a quirkless hero, Izuku is honestly terrified of whatever will come out of this man's mouth. Villains aren't going to hold back on you for not having a quirk. I lost a stomach in a fight and I'm the number one hero. Well that doesn't answer his question. I never thought they would. Izuku comments. Right, he clears his throat. You can't be a hero without a quirk. Oh, Izuku mumbles. Maybe try as a detective or cop. You have a brain on you, so use it for something realistic, kid. All Might says, leaving the rooftop. Good luck finding out what Izuku knew that the number one hero probably wouldn't see much in quirkless society, but that hurt. That genuinely felt like shit. Distraught, Izuku sits on the edge of the building with his legs dangling off. Even the number one hero. Clearly society has given up on people like him. What was he even thinking? A top-tier pro with a flashy quirk. He probably wouldn't bat an eye for someone with the same dream and same lack of quirk. He looks to the ground far below. He's pretty high up. Oh shit, is that an explosion? Izuku hops on various rails to get down and runs to the scene. It's the villain from before. Shit, this is his fault. Right, assess the situations. It's a villain who won't be taken down if you pull any punches. There's someone in there though, and how did fire get everywhere? The sound was an explosion, so who's the source? Izuku Midoriya's world freezes upon seeing pleading yet fiery red eyes make eye contact. He runs. Why is he running toward a certain ashy blonde source of explosions? Who the cares? Right, go for the eye. Izuku takes his knife out and plunges it into the villain's eye. Full force. There is blood everywhere. He yanks it back out. More importantly, Izuku yanks the arm of the hostage, dragging him out before running with him, leaving the heroes to handle the villain who lacks a hostage. Kachan. Deku. He hears. God, he sounds and looks so much older yet so similar. Now is not the time, keep moving. Izuku yells, holding back tears as they run through a few alleys. Eventually the running comes to a close. Are you okay? You should get to a hospital. You need to get cleared because you might have fluid in your lungs. Kachan yanks his arm back. Deku, what the? It's been years and you just show up to miraculously save me. Where is Auntie? Where is your dad? My folks have been worried sick. Oh, shit, maybe he should have tried to talk to them. I'm sorry Kachan, but you need to get to a hospital. Izuku counters. The hospital? I thought you were dead. The gravity of the situation sinks in as Izuku avoids eye contact with who was once his best friend. Kachan. Izuku mumbles. I'm sorry. He runs. He runs away from his chance at rekindling with someone he hasn't seen since he was 4, yet knew since he was born. Izuku finally stops running full speed when he makes it to an alleyway. His treehouse is the opposite way, but he doesn't want to lead Kachan there. Why did he run? God damn it. And why doesn't he care so much? Sure, they were like cousins or even brothers, but not since they were 4. He can't just forget all that though. He punches the wall in the alleyway, unable to even think clearly. It takes him a few seconds to realize that it was a repeated process. And his knuckles are bleeding. Izuku shoves his hands in his pockets as he tries to think clearly of what to make of this. It feels like he has to solve something right now but has no idea what. A few deep breaths later and he hears footsteps. He's immediately on guard with his now blood-stained knife. He's covered in the guy's blood too from stabbing his eye out. Kid. Oh great. All Might. Right, the hero on the scene who didn't even bother to save a suffocating child. He's not mad about the quirkless thing, but was he seriously going to let Kachan die? You again. Izuku mumbles, taking off his blood-soaked blazer. Thankfully his collared shirt under it is blood-free. He shoves it in his backpack as the skeletal man catches up. You displayed a great show of bravery, young man. All Might congratulates. Izuku ignores everything going on, just wiping the blood off his face with tissue he has in his bag. If it weren't for why, Kachan would be dead, heavily injured. A skin suit, Izuku offers. All Might looks way more humble. Kachan, huh, you two must be familiar. Izuku shrugs, throwing the tissue in a dumpster. Do you want anything? Izuku asks. I want to praise your bravery of course. And I have a very important offer, so listen up. What? Is Izuku going to be told he's a wizard? I was wrong, you young man, could be a hero. Is Izuku supposed to cry here or? You changed your mind about quirkless heroes? Izuku asks, eyebrow raised as he faces him for the first time. Not without a quirk, he clarifies. This is a waste. Izuku's ready to leave, but with mine. Your quirk, what? Does it give a strength boost to things you touch then? Izuku pauses, standing still. Don't get him wrong, He still thinks All Might is a bit negligent, but his quirk has yet to be revealed considering how many times it was brushed over. He can't miss out on a chance to figure out his quirk. Izuku wishes he had his notebook. No, my power can be passed down, and has been through generations. All Might monologues, a hand out. That makes absolutely no sense. It is physically impossible to give somebody a quirk. It's a genetic mutation that occurred generations ago. Even if that's possible, that would be more common and heard of. The only instance I can think of is that guy from the dawn of quirks who can give and take them, but that's just a myth, yeah. A very unheard one at that. Izuku rambles. Of course he gets cut off. Kid, stop nerding out and let me explain. All Might says, after coughing up more blood. My predecessor gave me a quirk. One for all. Was it named to be like the legend of All for One? It's a stockpiler used for fighting evil, and now you'll be the ninth. He don't want no quirk. He basically just said that Izuku can only be a hero with his help. And is this some kind of joke? What if there is no magical quirk that can be passed down? However, it will require a lot of strength training. Now we're talking. Izuku was so ready to deny whatever bullshit this is, but strength training. Would it mess up my limbs since I have no quirk factor? Izuku asks, innocently. Yes, but I'll make sure it doesn't get to a point where your limbs won't shoot into space. Sounds like they'll still break. Izuku puts on his most innocent excited smile. I accept. Izuku sees all his missed calls on his way home. Dabi called 5 times. Mei called 7 times. Hitoshi called 14 times. Nito called 15 times. Himiko called 20 times. Now that's a lot of missed calls. Izuku dials Himiko first. Where the air you? I just got home. You said you'd be here. Himiko asks. And you didn't answer the calls. Even Shoto took Dabi's phone to text you. Not to mention you looked beat at school. I did get beat, thank you. Izuku responds, smiling smugly. And I also secured a free gym membership. I'll be home soon, Izuku announces. He runs the rest of the way home cackling. Chapter text. Chuya will admit, he has been putting off the thoughts of Deku's clear insecurity for his lack of quirk. He can't ignore what he said about the name meaning useless being related to his quirk. Now he knows it's about the lack of. He didn't expect to care this much about what this kid thinks about his lack of quirk. Time has passed though. Before he met them he thought he'd just be trying to kill Endeavor. Part of him still wants to. Things are so much different now that he has kids to worry about though. They aren't his kids, but even if he would die before saying it, he cares about them. So for now, he's not forgetting about his revenge, but this won't affect it. It's not like Toga, Deku or Shoto are trying to stop him. Not even their little friends. He's pretty sure they'd laugh at the old man's funeral. Back on topic though, Deku is alone outside waiting so they can talk now. He takes his mask and heads out to where Deku is. Hey, Deku, Chuya greets. I wanted to talk. Yeesh. Deku mumbles. Did I offend you or something? No, but there's something you said. How is he supposed to not beat around the bush while putting it lightly? You said your name is in relation to your quirk. Deku immediately turns, facing a tree. It was a joke. Chuya rolls his eyes. Jokes are funny. You said that as self-deprecating and quiet. He retorts. Why does it matter? I said one thing about my lack of quirk. And you didn't know I lacked one until the other day. He crosses his arms. It's not a big deal. The others are worried. Kid. You didn't respond to any calls yesterday. Apparently there was some villain attack near your school, and even before all that Toga said you were bruised like hell. Chuya goes to sit next to him. Your school friends are worried. Toga is worried. Shoto is worried. Hell, even I'm worried. God, never make me say that again. You're worried? Deku asks, with a raised eyebrow. He notices the positive look on his face that was immediately tossed aside. It's no big deal. I just got attacked in the locker rooms yesterday. That's the norm for me, that's the norm for Himiko, and that's the norm for my friends. And I got involved in that villain attack cause I stabbed the dude and ran with the hostage. What kind of secret lore are you having? You and I both know you kick ass. Why don't you fight back? Chuya asks. Cause then I'd get in trouble, and I'm not in the mood for that. Just think of it as a normal patrol. Deku suggests. Normal patrols are fighting villains. This seems a lot more personal. Chuya counters. And are you even sure you're okay with being called Deku when it's a quick and easy way to ridicule you? To be fair, I didn't want to tell you my actual name by that point. He shrugs. Chuya is starting to get the hint Deku won't tell him much now. I didn't either, but I guess my name is a dead giveaway to my quirk, and I don't exactly like my last name. Shit, he didn't think this through. You can call me Chuya, unless someone who doesn't know my identity is around. Chuya offers. He doesn't see Deku smile because of genuine happiness instead of snarkiness a lot, but surely enough he is now. If Deku seems too offensive to call a quirkless person, Izuku works too. He decides. And thank you, Chuya. For what? I just listened, and not even to the full story. Chuya asks. Caring. Didn't think you did, Izuku admits. Don't rub it in, Chuya says, standing. The others arrive outside soon. So far Izuku has acted pretty smug and full of himself, even if he knows that isn't the case. This conversation really goes to show that he's too humble for his own good. Honestly, these kids are not healthy. He'd be a hypocrite to judge them though. When he was their age he was in a 3-year coma. Part of him still doesn't believe he's 22. Finally, all four are on their usual route. Chuya notices a man who's barely taller than him face the group. He has long black hair and some weird scarf. The man heads over. Eraserhead. Wow, been a minute, huh? Izuku greets, walking over. So this is Shinso's dad. Chuya ignores the immediate distrust for any hero with a kid. Ayo. Toga waves, once the group is facing Eraserhead. There's 2 more of you. He points out. Yep, Toga beams. That's Dabi and that's whatever his vigilante name is. I don't have one. Shoto mumbles, voice low. He's pretty sure neither of them are fond of heroes. At least not immediately trusting. The closest to a hero Chuya had actually been acquainted with as a hero in training. And Chuya hasn't seen that friend in years. So, why haven't you arrested the brats anyway? You're a hero, Chuya asks. They can be useful. Eraserhead shrugs. Nope, he's babysitting cause we're great. Toga corrects. It's pretty fun catching up as if you're the uncle we see once a year, but focus. Izuku hushes, pointing to a car. They're in a bar alleyway. Chuya watches as an older man tries dragging some young adult to his car. He can tell by the body language the younger one is drunk. Shit. I'll be back, Chuya announces, deciding to walk toward them. The younger one mouths for help. That's his cue. Hey, he greets, making it toward the car. Your old man called your phone. Chuya lies, very easily. He's going to have your head if you don't get home soon. Pretty sure he'll get the cops on your ass again. Chuya prays to God this guy will get the hint and play along. He doesn't exactly seem willing to follow this dude. Word choices are very important too. Getting the cops involved is a huge game changer. Not to mention an older man could be a huge threat. The younger man seems to realize. Annoying as hell, he mumbles. He seems to go behind Chuya. Chuya notices the cigarette the man takes out. Let me get that for you, yeah. He offers. He lights the cigarette using a fire in his index finger. He isn't too happy flaunting a flashy quirk, but hopefully this guy will back the up. The man leaves without a word. The younger guy immediately thanks him the second the car is out of sight. I'm going to take a guess that's a fake ID you used to get in. Chuya points out. I'm no narc but be careful. Yeesh. Don't try driving. I kind of need my car. He counters. Izuku is impressed by Chuya's tactics. He sees Chuya get into the driver's seat. Shit, he knows how to drive. They probably need a getaway driver for whenever they get in too much trouble. Huh, he already has plans on plans forming for some of the more illegal things he has in mind. Your friend there has interesting tactics. Eraser comments. Yeah, he's always been quick to lie. He's great at playing things off. Shoto explains. That gives off a lot of bad implications. Izuku himself can say he was a better liar after being thrown into foster care. He never felt the need to lie to his mom. Anyway, I have a job to do. I would suggest for you all to go home, but I know by now that's pointless. Don't die, Eraser states, quick to leave. The rest of the patrol goes well. The answer to why Izuku is at a trash-filled beach is beyond him. He's bound to get some sort of disease. For your training, you'll clean this beach until the UA entrance exams. Then you'll be fit to safely inherit one for all. All Might explains. You talk about this top-secret quirk really loud. Izuku comments. He looks around. The answer isn't great. Clean all this in 10 months. No gloves or anything. Whatever. He needs muscle. All Might moves on top of the fridge and Izuku goes to find somewhere to start. He analyzes the surroundings, deciding what won't immediately topple over something else. One thing moving can bring an avalanche of trash. What are you doing? Try to move the fridge. All Might orders. Izuku stares at him. With you on it. I know I rushed into a battle with no regard for my life, but I'm not actively trying to break my back. Izuku comments. You're giving up this easily. All Might questions. I'm not giving up. I'm just, right. He needs this. Izuku moves to the rope by the fridge and tries tugging. It hardly moves. He has had a lot of strength training, but this is bullshit. Come on. People without even having strength quirks are able to move these daily. All Might comments. Most of said people aren't 14 years old. Izuku soon falls over. He hears the snap of the camera. You're taking pictures. Izuku deadpans. If Izuku didn't know any better, he'd call this man a sadist. He immediately hops back on 2 feet. Come on. You can't call it quits if you want the quirk. All Might encourages. He hops off the fridge. I told you, unless you want your limbs shot off, you need to be a proper vessel. You have muscle, but nowhere near enough where the power won't hurt you. All Might crushes the fridge in his palms. He could have done that from the start. You're also scrawny. I'm aware. Izuku mumbles, crossing his arms. That's why I'm doing strength training. Isn't it? Well, yes, but I've set up a workout schedule and diet to accommodate. He announces, handing Izuku a notebook. He looks at the workouts. That's not the problem. But the food, he can't afford all that. That'd cost the already tight money shared to feed all 4 of the treehouse residents. Great, thanks. Something Izuku hates about those with cash is that they forget not everyone has their same privilege. He can barely get away with his education. Izuku goes to a specific pile and grabs a tire. The junk here might prove useful. Some of this stuff is in decent shape. He'll have to save some stuff. Maybe Mei can scrap some or they can make some furniture pieces. It might be nice to have a dinner table. Izuku decides to jog with the tire. All Might follows. Did you have a quirk before One for All? Izuku asks. No, One for All gave me my status. Well, this is bullshit. And your predecessor? Izuku asks. She was a strong woman. All Might boasts. She had a float quirk. Huh, Izuku mumbles. Telekinesis, floating and things to do with defying gravity aren't the most rare quirks. They aren't common either. His own mother has a quirk to attract small objects. Was she a hero? Yeah, she was never in the top ranking though. As she was working her way up she died to a villain. All Might's tone turns grim. After a few things are hauled out, Izuku decides to bring up a question that's clouding his mind. What will I tell my parents? They'd probably get suspicious with me being out so often. Especially with a stranger they don't know. Izuku asks. He doesn't have parents, but he does have a friend who will stab a minor inconvenience. And a friend who's proven to be sassy as hell. And that friend's sassy older brother who took it upon himself to babysit. Get creative, All Might suggests. That's a huge red flag. What about the quirk? How'd it come to be? Izuku asks. You know all you need to. Great, more bullshit. Izuku is tired after the huge workload he did when he got home, but he's in time for patrol. Where have you been? Chuya asks, looking slightly concerned about how tired he is. The guy training me is a moron. Izuku complains, but it's worth the free gym membership. 1 coffee, got it. Chuya concludes. He heads to the kitchen and Shoto walks over. Midoriya, are you alright? He asks, sitting next to Izuku on the couch. Yeah, he shrugs, brushing the question off. I don't think Toga or Chuya want you going out exhausted. Shoto comments. I'm just a little tired. And it wouldn't be fair to them to not. Izuku insists. You were alone when you met me. Shoto rebutes. Izuku goes quiet. That's true, and a valid point, but he can handle being a little tired. I didn't always take exhaustion seriously either. It never made sense to me, but according to Chuya it's serious, self-negligent and a death wish. Shoto puts air quotes around the words death wish. I don't even get that. It ties into self-negligence. Izuku explains. Then why not leave it at that? Shoto wonders. Izuku shrugs. Anyway, it explained passing out or vomiting in training. I don't want you passing out. Izuku recognizes how he interprets emotions. It reminds Izuku of how he himself will have to compare it to something to understand. Even his own experiences. Shoto is really trying, despite how awkward he sounds. Thanks, Shoto, but I'll be fine. Aight. Izuku responds, standing up. Chuya and Himiko walk back. He looks annoyed, so she was probably annoying him somehow. She kept complaining I wasn't making it right. Chuya complains. How do you not make black instant coffee right? I see him make it every day. That specific powder mixes in better after putting it in the water. Otherwise it's gross, she complains. With 2 spoonfuls in this tiny ass cup. It won't mix regardless. Chuya hands the coffee to Izuku. Kid, you're way too specific. It's coffee. Coffee tastes bad anyway. Himiko pouts. Off. That's because everything you eat is either pure blood or pure sugar. Chuya argues. Then I should get a refill. Himiko pulls a knife out. Izuku knows she won't actually stab him, but steps in anyway. Calm down, both of you. Izuku orders. Want some coffee? Izuku offers, facing Shoto. No thanks. Oh right, hot drinks. I'll try to snag some orange juice or something for you. Izuku offers. It's fine. Consider what I said, Shoto asks. Izuku holds his tongue. He chugs his coffee in response. I'm way more awake. It's fine. Shoto frowns. Chuya takes his phone out and shows the screen from the Discord chat they dragged him in. To be fair, it consists of all of Izuku's friends. The zombie kid overheard a racer say he's on a joint patrol. He's by our area, yeah. We should lay low, Chuya suggests. I'm not in the mood to get arrested. You sure it's not Mike? Himiko asks. Yeah, he didn't give a name though. Chuya explains. We don't have to patrol. I have some of the money I saved from the mall. Himiko brings up. Let's see a movie. I never been to a theater. Himiko suggests. Izuku looks at the prices for the nearest on his phone. They got a discount today. But I'll go on patrol anyway. Nah Himiko says. But I am. Nah someone has to go. Nah Izuku sighs in defeat. Fine. We're utilizing Chuya's trench coat for snacks though. Pretty sure they'd think he's 2 kids in one. Izuku jokes. He himself never went to a theater, and he doubts the others have, but he's heard about that. I'm going to roast you alive. You. I'm not childish or immature. Chuya crosses his arms. And even if I was, I got the excuse of a coma. He brags. You guys know how to put free movies on the phone. Why not do that? Shoto asks. The experience. Himiko says with a bow. Christ, you're acting like the theater dude. Chuya insults. He takes after me. Himiko pouts. And I'm not a theater kid. You were a hella good actor though. Remember those performances you and Nito used to put on in the streets for a quick cash grab? Izuku asks. Himiko laughs. My ideas were better, but yeah. Those were funny. You guys are nerds. Chuya jokes. At this point, that may not even be a joke though. Anyway, enjoy your movie, but I'm not going to some movie theater. Chuya says. Well, the best things on there are prequel horror movies, and we need an adult. Then I guess 2 of you can use a trenchcoat. Chuya suggests. Ah boo. Himiko pouts. We'll use yours. Chuya rolls his eyes. What movie? Saw V. Izuku beams. If you didn't watch the first 5, which I wouldn't blame you for since it's centuries old, it's about a guy named John Kramer who makes traps to rehabilitate people. Izuku rambles for a while. Fine. Chuya decides. I've heard of those though. Surprised people still watch them. And soon, the group is at the movie theater watching a movie that existed far before Quirks. Everyone seems to like it, besides Shoto, who is confused the whole time, but once they're out, Izuku explains it and he seems to get it. And Izuku's info dump doesn't get cut off once. Chapter text. Mei Hatsume is at the park with her friends. She told her parents she'd be back to celebrate with them, and she will. But to start off, she always hangs out with her friends separately first. End the night off with testing the robot she takes 1 year to make. They always take quicker, but apparently having a set tradition is important. She pretended that it took a year, but it's nice, right? Stability is alright. It's a good bot too. She is on one of the swings as they wait for Izuku to deliver the brownies since she prefers it over cake. Nito's mom ordered it. Come to think of it, she never met his mom. The guest list is Izuku, Hitoshi, Himiko and Nito. The orphan gang. Is that bad to say? Of course she has one of her babies with her. Hey Mei, Himiko greets, going on the swing next to her, but standing on it. Hey Himiko, Mei responds. She's trying to solve the puzzle they used for the tape recorder for a birthday card video. You doing anything with your folks? Himiko asks, flipping herself onto the swing bar. Yep, them praying my annual robot won't blow up. Mei answers, focusing. You ever do anything other than robots? Interest-wise, aside from coding and more tech stuff? She asks, hanging upside down. I mean, I have interests. They're just not books or shows or anything. Mei shrugs. I hang out with y'all, yeah. And I've definitely kicked ass for you. That'd be a hobby if I didn't wish it wasn't necessary. Hate to be a buzzkill. But you need a clean record for UA. Himiko audibly gags at her own sentence. These people get into their cause, they kick ass. And they know how to. What's the accepting for support? I can be on a delivery run. Mei counters. She finishes the puzzle and pockets it. I'll watch it at home. They notice Izuku running with a box from afar. I got them goods, Izuku announces, noticing angry parents glaring. Sorry, he covers. The rest of the way he walks with his head low. The three sit at a table. That smells immaculate, Hitoshi declares. For my birthday, thank you very much. Sing this now, she decides, handing over a clipboard with the birthday song in Spanish. They all squint at it. I'm barely passing English, you think I know how to read Spanish? Nito complains. I'm not passing English at all. Himiko complains. None of us even speak Spanish. I can read it, I just can't sing for the life of me. I know a bit though. Izuku explains. But I can't read the accents. Fine. Mei pouts, opening the box. Nito, of course, is the one to put all of them on plates with forks. Why even have forks? They're brownies. Mei, if you eat that with your greasy ass hands, I'll throw myself off that jungle gym. Hitoshi deadpans. Guess it's not just Nito. She ends up using the fork as they eat over talking. Finally, they can give the gift they all apparently worked on. Izuku heads to a bush they hid the gift in as she's told to close her eyes. Open. Himiko beams. Mei looks at the two-legged bot in front of her. Baby, she shouts, immediately cooing it. You guys made one. Ah, it's adorable. What's it do? Is it some kind of Star Wars droid type deal? It has no mouth or arms. I'm naming this beautiful gem Blob. Took a while, Nito admits. No clue how you do it. Never make me do that again. Himiko whines, shaking Izuku. I could barely keep them all to keep doing it. I think in teamwork terms, Nito was more of a leader. Izuku explains. Yeah, otherwise me and Izuku did all of it. Hitoshi points out. Himiko did snag some parts though. But yes, Blob. All hail Blob. Damn straight. Mei just takes Blob and starts interrogating them. And it responds. In Morse code. I love you. She holds the bot in her hands. You're welcome. Nito teases, putting a hand on her shoulder. I'm taking Blob on weekends. Himiko decides. The you are. Mei argues. I love him too much. She remembers that actual people gave this to her. Thank you, she says. The rest of her party went great by her standards. Izuku stares at the calendar, a dull expression on his face as he reads the same date over and over solemnly. April 19th. Kachan's birthday is tomorrow. The past few years, he was able to ignore it. For that while it was just some dude he used to know, and that was alright. Now, he's a reminder of the last day he saw his own mother. It took actually seeing Kachan to associate leaving his house with his mother dropping him off who the knows where. However, his current house guest notices his calendar episode. Izuku, looks like there's something important. Hitoshi points out. Izuku notices how it's phrased as a statement. Hitoshi notices his acknowledgement. What are you worrying about? Just someone I know whose birthday is tomorrow. Izuku mumbles. He notices Hitoshi visibly relaxed at the response. Well, we celebrated Mei's yesterday. The twins were born in May, and if I remember correctly your mom was born in July. So were you. I don't know your dad's birthday but that checks out just about everyone you know. Oh right, Dabi and Shoto were both born in January. Hitoshi explains. Izuku avoids his gaze, just grabbing his own coffee cup. Killer memory, huh? Izuku points out. You know the kid in the sludge villain incident I saved? Izuku asks. Hitoshi nods. That's Kachan. And I ran away from him. Hitoshi makes his best attempt at a hug, but they're both really awkward. I think I'll get him a gift. Izuku decides. You remember where he lives? Hitoshi asks. And you say I have a killer memory. I'll go after. You still want to train, yeah? Izuku asks. Hitoshi shakes his head. That can wait. Hitoshi decides. But the others are waiting outside. Izuku reminds him. They are able to cop out. So can you. Hitoshi says, pocketing his phone. Are you sure about this? I don't think I'd be able to give it to him in person. Izuku explains, following Hitoshi. That depends. Do you want to get something? Hitoshi asks. Izuku reluctantly nods. Then we are. Simple as that. After saying goodbye to the others, the two make it to a small shop. Izuku looks around a plushie aisle. What is Kachan even into now? A plushie catches his eye. Best Jeanist. He immediately picks it up. Kachan used to be a fan. Hitoshi walks behind him. He a fan? He asks. Izuku nods, smiling. His parents worked in the fashion industry. I guess he liked him by default. You getting anything? Hitoshi shakes his head and they go to the register. Izuku notices a card and puts it on. The two head outside and sit by the curb. How did you know him? Hitoshi asks, facing the passing cars. Izuku takes out a pen and starts writing on the card. Our mothers were good friends when they were younger, so I basically knew him since birth. He was rude and boastful sometimes. He had a growing god complex, but we got along. Wanted to be heroes together actually. I think he phrased it as having me as a sidekick. Izuku smiles fondly at the memory. What, you're the only one who tolerated him or something? Hitoshi teases, lightly nudging him. Izuku keeps his hands on the pen and card as he laughs. I think it was the other way around. I wasn't good at the things I tried before even getting diagnosed as quirkless. Especially socializing. I followed him around though. Izuku says. You're the one who ran though. Hitoshi points out. I don't like thinking about my life before you guys, Izuku realizes how rude his tone sounds. Sorry, I just don't want to miss it too much. I mean, I have a good life now. I got to know you guys. His surroundings blur as he holds back tears. The card is finished. Sorry I ran, and that I still am. Happy birthday, Kachan. Deku, I am. He feels weight on his shoulders. Hitoshi is hugging him. Izuku stares at the road, the sound of cars drowned out by his own thoughts. When Izuku's mom dropped him off at Kachan's, he didn't expect the sleepover to last a week. She pops in every day, talking to Izuku a few minutes and sometimes Auntie Mitsuki and Uncle Masaru. Today though, Izuku and Kachan are staring at the timer. Uncle Masaru let them bake under his supervision, so they're waiting for the timer to say they can taste test at a not burning temperature. I bet my batch turned out better. Kachan challenges. The timer is at 2 minutes. Nah, I think I might have succeeded this time. Izuku argues. Are you doubting my baking? He asks. I have a chance too. Izuku mumbles. No, 'cause I'll come out on top. They stare at the timer till it hits 0. Soon, the two boys are in the kitchen, shouting for Uncle Masaru. Hey Dad, try mine first. Kacchan beams, handing one of the cookies off his tray. I should save one for my dad when I see him again. Izuku decides. Uncle Masaru noticeably winces. Settle down. You two can have your competition. He decides, accepting the cookie. Izuku and Kacchan grab one each from their own batch. Izuku splits his, handing one half to Kacchan. Despite the grumbling, he does the same. Izuku tries Kacchan's cookie first, and so does Kacchan himself. Yeah, you win. Izuku mumbles. Kacchan immediately starts cheering. Told ya so, Deku. He can't tell if he's being a sore loser, but he isn't having fun anymore. They both try Izuku's. It's not the worst, but you won't beat me. You always win. Izuku mutters. There's a knock and soon, Auntie Mitsuki walks in the room with Izuku's mom. Hey, Squirts, you didn't make too much of a mess, yeah? She asks, walking in. Oh wow, it's actually clean. I'm almost impressed. I'm sure you kept Katsuki in check, Izuku. Kacchan visibly fumes at that. Hey, Izuku, Katsuki, I hate to cut this short, but Izuku and I have to go. She announces. She sounds sad. Oh what, I wanted to beat him at Mario Kart next. He complains. We can do that next time, Kacchan. Izuku reminds him. Don't try and reassure me. Kacchan yells. Katsuki, be nice to your friend. He's a guest. Auntie Mitsuki orders. He falters. How about next time we bake a cake, yeah? Izuku suggests. M's joke-themed cake sounds cool. Ms. Joke. She's not a top hero. Kacchan crosses his arms. She's definitely climbing in rankings. Izuku starts. Ms. Joke is one of the very few heroes who can use positive emotions in combat. It's incredible. She's the smile hero. She's really strong too, and has no muscle augmentation quirk. Whatever Deku. If we do that, it'll be the best ever. Kacchan agrees. When do you plan to have him over next then? Auntie Mitsuki asks his mom. I'm not sure right now. Izuku looks at Auntie Mitsuki, who seems to have noticed how sad his mom looks. Bye Katsuki, Mitsuki, Masaru. Bye Kacchan. Izuku waves. Bye Auntie Mitsuki and Uncle Masaru. After bidding their farewells, the two Midoriyas are in their car. Izuku. We're taking a surprise trip, okay? His mom announces. Okay, Mom. Izuku responds, fidgeting with his hands in the back seat. I have your bag packed. And Izuku. Do you want to get a shake? She sounds like she's about to cry. Izuku doesn't even know if it's a trick question. Are you okay? Izuku asks. She nods. I'm fine. Let's go to the milkshake place. A few minutes of driving later, he's sitting in a booth with a chocolate milkshake in front of him. He doesn't have much to compare it to, since he's had it once. It looks good though. Mom, do you want the first sip? He asks, pushing the milkshake toward her. She looks miserable. What's wrong? She doesn't answer. That's bad manners, as she told him. But she seems really sad. Is this about Dad? Where is he? Drink your milkshake, all right. She responds, trying to smile. You look sad. He points out. Enjoying it will make me happy. She insists, lightly shoving it to him. He drinks the chocolate milkshake, under the impression it'd fix his mother's mood. They get back in the car and continue driving. He soon sees a large building. Hey, Izuku, take your bag and go inside. I'll catch up, his mom declares. Which door? This tall building, Izuku asks. The closest to you, on the right. Izuku nods and gets out of the car. Bye, Izuku. He hears her mumble. Those are weird words. When he went inside the building called an orphanage, finding a note in his bag, he really wished he asked what she meant. It's Katsuki's birthday. Turning 15 isn't too big a deal to him, and he never saw why it is to anyone. Birthdays really. Celebrating is all right, but it's mostly attention-seeking children. Though, his mom said he was one of them. And still is. That. He goes outside to get the mail, hoping none bother to have his name. Unless it's a report card. That's not actually bad. Before he even gets to the mail though, he finds a Best Jeanist plushie on his doorstep. Maybe one of those goons left it. Then again, he never told either where he lives. He picks up the plush with a card attached. It's pretty childish, but it's not a bad plushie. He looks at the card. That plush soon falls as his fingers loosen. Katsuki Bakugo runs into the neighborhood, trying to find Deku. Deku, you asshole. He yells, at the top of his lungs. You going to run off to who the knows where? Are you too good to stay? He doesn't care about the extras staring at himself. Deku is probably far gone. He heads into his house, slamming the door. Not without snatching the plush and note. The hag comes downstairs. What are you yelling about? We're not trying to get a noise complaint. She demands. The moment she sees his face her exterior changes. Katsuki. Nothing, he says, storming past her up to his room. Sorry that he ran. Yeah right. He gets a bit of tape and places the note on a framed photo, putting the plushie against it. The day at the forest. Are you hurt, Kachan? Help, from someone who couldn't do anything right. Well, he wasn't supposed to. He reached out. Now Katsuki's chasing after him. He should let him know his folks mourn for him. Katsuki needs to find Deku. He owes him for the sludge villain incident, and the plushie. To be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.